I call this meeting to order for the Board of Trustees of the Town of Buena Vista. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Lacy,
Here.
Trustee Eckstein,
Here.
Trustee Fay,
Here.
Trustee Nyberg, Trustee Nyberg, Trustee Rowe,
Here.
Trustee Swisher,
Here.
Trustee Blopey,
Here.
and I know I saw Norm earlier.
He's there.
I don't know if he's froze up.
Oh, it could be.
It looks like his screen locked up.
Yep, does.
Now I went.
Here he comes.
Maybe.
Is anybody else having trouble with the volume?
No, I'm not. Can you hear us, Norm?
So Becky's saying she had to call in with her phone in order to hear, and that maybe that's what's happening with Norm.
That's interesting.
Maybe he could try that. There's a number on the agenda. Do you want to try that, Norm?
Yeah, he can also change his microphone to switch to phone audio in the bottom left-hand corner.
I see.
You don't have phone radio. Hit that little arrow.
Now he's muted.
I'm going to go ahead and move along, folks. So if you would, all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. First is the agenda adoption. Do I have any questions or comments on the agenda? Any changes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Thanks, Libby.
Second.
Second, Volpe. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? I do want to point out the reports that have been being brought forward by the chief of police and also the fire chief. I appreciate all of those. Very informative. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Cindy.
Second.
Second row, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is public comment. I will remind everyone that you may enter your name and address in the Zoom chat box, or you may also press *9 on your phone to raise your hand and *6 to mute or unmute yourself if you are on the phone. I don't see anything. Do you see anything, anybody else?
I'm not seeing anything else yet either.
Nope, I don't see any hands raised or anybody in chat. Okay, I will close this portion of public comment. First item on the agenda then will be staff reports. That'll be town administrator first.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi
All
there.
right.
Evening.
Getting there. Give me 1 second. I figure it's easier that when I share the screen. If it's not easier, just holler at me. So my report is on page 43 of the packet. And I did want to take a moment and just say thank you to all of our town staff. I put a little blurb there at the top of my report. And I think you all have certainly witnessed this over time, but I just felt like I needed to say it. Just a big thank you to all our staff who continue to show up day after day and really put their best foot forward and deliver a great service to this town. It's been a very trying year, obviously, for everyone. But that, for a lot of our staff was on top of an already busy and packed year. So I get to witness some really great performance. A lot of, people acting in humility and working with other people during times when there's frustration and fear and anger and all that stuff. And just really good all around from what I see from my perspective. So thank you, everybody. All right. So I have in my report a few things that are budget related. I wanted to call them out because, kind of spur some of the thinking and eventual decision making that will need to come through the budget process. And I picked on the public support section of our budget first, because you're going to start hearing, starting with tonight, you're going to hear from some of the advisory boards on what they've got planned in terms of proposals going into the budget. Plus, we've got the grant process and the public support line item. So I highlighted a few things in there to start getting some of your feedback and direction on. We'll spend some time, not all tonight, but we'll spend some time talking through the difference between our public support items, things that are budgeted every year, such as the American Legion fireworks and Boys and Girls Club, BB Strong, After Prom, and what we contribute to the BV Chamber. Those are also the Economic Development Corporation, the EDC. Those are things that are budgeted line items. Previous boards have decided to set those up in that manner so that those funding sources are a little bit more predictable year after year. In addition to that, we have the community support grants, which the board obviously sets the budget amount for as well. And that's more of a competitive grant process. And as you remember, we switched over and started partnering with the Chaffey County Community Foundation to run that process for us. So, it allows us to reach more nonprofits, but it's a competitive process. And, we kind of evaluate each year, what those groups are trying to achieve and how much money they will get from that community support budget. The board, as a reminder, the board can move things around. So this is not set in stone. So that's kind of why I wanted to put these things out there as a reminder to you all that we can talk about it. We can move some things around if you want. But as a default, this is how things are loaded right now. The other thing I want to point out that's going to look a little different is the contribution request for the Chaffey Economic EDC. They have been at a set price point for, probably 10 years now. And they are needing to get more contribution from the local governments to keep up with the cost of running that operation. So you can see there some of the discussion with the county and the other municipalities. We're looking at increasing our contribution. Right now, the idea is to go from 5,000 up to just shy of 12,000. So more discussion to be had with that. I think it will also be a good idea to invite the EDC in to provide an update and probably talk about this with you all at an upcoming meeting. So that leads me to my next point that's budget related, which is, get down here a little bit. You can invite any group in to a meeting to have some discussion. So tonight, for example, we have some of our advisory boards: Beautification, Trails, and Recreation. And we can certainly invite other groups in, any of the public support items, or even some of our past community grant recipients. So right now, what I'm planning is to bring EDC in and also Joseph Teipel from the Community Foundation, because it'll be important to talk about the grant process. And so he's obviously, his organization is the one that runs that for us. So we'll have Joseph in probably at the next meeting to share some of that. So this is more informational. I'm not looking for direction right away, just kind of pointing you in some different directions to look at now that you're going to have access to the actual budget. Moving along, staffing updates. We do have the deputy clerk and / finance clerk position posted. We're very excited to find our next person for that position. I know Paul is excited. I'm not that great at website updates and such, so we're looking forward to bringing whoever we pick on board for that. So if you know anybody that's great and loves to work with people, great communication and customer service, I put a link there to the job posting. Moving on to our COVID relief funds. So this happened quick, so this is already out of date in my report, but as of this weekend, the amazing process that Michelle Stoke put together for our local business grant program was fully allocated. So the $130,000 budget was dispersed to over 27 businesses, which is a great, I think, a great reach for our town. So we have reached the end of that program as for now, and we can talk more. We'll talk a little bit more on trustee staff interaction. I'll kind of want to get a feel from the board of maybe what we want to do with some of the remaining funds for that. The local nonprofit relief fund is also moving along. We did get our first invoice. $10,000 of our $45,000 has been allocated so far on that, so a really good start. And I think countywide, about 7 nonprofits have been reached with that, and I think about 5 of them are primarily based in the BV area. So very exciting to see those funds getting out quickly. Chaffey Housing Authority, that's on the agenda tonight again. And thank you, Becky Gray, for joining. So just a very quick one. Assuming the board approves the updated or amended IGA tonight, we will participate in a signing ceremony Thursday down in Salida with the county and the city of Salida. So exciting milestone. And again, we'll talk probably more on trustee staff interaction, but we'll want to talk about how do we want to advertise and help the board make a decision on who do we appoint for those 2 seats that will represent BV on that new board of directors. So if you've got great thoughts on that, hold them. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the meeting. And then finally, just a quick update. You'll probably see some new signage in the McPhillamy Park area. But we've partnered with the BV Public Library on kind of revamping the Wi-Fi in the park. They obtained a grant through some of the COVID relief funding, and they were able to get some pretty robust service out there. So we helped them with some signage, and we feel like this will be pretty helpful. A lot of people already park out front of the library to get some access to Wi-Fi. This will spread that out a little bit and, you know, just be available for the community if schools are down and some students need to hang out in the park for a little while or whatnot. So pretty exciting to see that up and going pretty quickly. All right, so threw a lot out there. I know we'll talk about some budget things a little later, housing authority a little later and so on, but any questions for now?
Anybody have anything for Philip? Okay, thank you, Philip. We'll look forward to, let's say, brief discussions in trustee staff interaction.
Perfect.
Okay, next item is town treasurer staff report. Michelle?
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. My report's on page 45 in the packet. I believe Philip has it up. We're proud to announce that our new transparency website is live, and there's going to be a link to it on our website in the next day or so. This is a lot more comprehensive than OpenGov was, and I put a link to the financials. This is also the platform on which you as trustees will review our budget, and we're going to have a quick and dirty tutorial on ClearGov at the end of the budget discussion after we set the dates. And so if you haven't noticed already, I sent all the trustees invites to review the general fund budget and the capital improvement fund budget. I will be sending out invites for the other funds, but I didn't want to overwhelm you with 7 emails all at once. So it gets you used to ClearGov and moving around in ClearGov, and then I'll send the other invites sometime next week. There's a list of the items that you can access, and we're really excited about it. Philip and I really do like this program. My report is also outdated. It's all gone. All the local business COVID grant funds have been assigned, and like Philip said, it was to approximately 27 businesses. I found that about as many had no sales tax involvement as ones that did, and so we gave out a lot more because we were able to give out a lot more in number, because we were able to give out $3,500 to people who aren't sales tax based. I've listed the town's expenditures of more than $2,000, and that about sums it up for me. If I would be willing to entertain any questions.
Trustees, any questions for Michelle? I think they're saving them all until later, Michelle.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Great, thank you, Michelle.
Mhm.
Next is Rec Director, Earl.
I believe I saw him join. He's been helping with some of the rec programming tonight. Let me see if he's on yet.
I am on. Can you hear me now?
Hey,
Gotcha.
Yes, we gotcha.
Here we go. All right, how's everyone doing tonight?
Excellent.
Hear me? Hello.
We got you, Earl.
Okay,
Can you hear us?
great. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was helping Shane with the men's volleyball league tonight and just got back home. My report is on page 48, so thanks for your patience. Once again, since we spoke last in September, we've had a very busy and exciting month with lots of great accomplishments, and I'm really looking forward to a solid fall coming up. I'll hit some of our highlights here. UAS, which is the Unmanned Aircraft System and Drone Park. We had our grand opening last week out at the rodeo grounds, very well attended. We had about 50 people there, some police and fire department folks, and a lot of community members. It was a great hit. They're excited, and will be working with us under our agreement to start development of the drone park starting next week. GoCo grant for our Resilient Communities insert, which will be for our pickleball, single track, ADA trails, and restroom facilities, is on target. It's due on Friday. We actually finished it last Friday, sent it to Madison at GoCo for her quick review. She gave us some great feedback, and we'll be turning that in on Wednesday or Thursday. Highlights on that. The project itself, total cost is around $760,000. That includes the value of our land that the town's donating. And then we're asking for about $400,000 from GoCo to support 4 major projects in town. Pump track rehab continues. The single track trail is done around the pump track. It's being very well received. We still have a lot of community members and groups coming out to give that some additional attention, which is great, getting a lot of use. And then budgetary stuff, we'll do a presentation tonight, a little bit later. Myself and Mackenzie Lyle will spend some time with our board talking about projects that we worked on in 2020 and what's coming up in 2021 and some of our budget asks, so stay tuned there. And Michelle and Phil have been great to work with, helping us guide our department through this new process. Capital improvement projects, again, we'll go over that in our time together with our slide deck. But in essence, looking at some really good projects going into 2021, we're really excited about. Along with our GoCo grant, we squeezed in another grant through Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They have a non-motorized trail use grant that our department helped out with the Trails Advisory Board, and Kelly Collins, who's our chair of the Trails Advisory Board, took the lead on this grant and did an incredible job. It was pretty robust, writing about 35 plus pages of writing and content, but we got that in last week. And what that will help us accomplish if we're awarded is we can finally replace the wood at the Whipple Bridge, the wood plates there that have been there since 1990, and then put a lot of close attention to the first 1,500 linear feet of the Whipple Trail that is getting so much use, it's unbelievable. As in past reports, we've stated upwards to 450 people a day are using that bridge to access our public land. So hopefully we can get awarded this grant in 2021 and knock out two great projects for the town and for our community. For some other capital improvement stuff, our youth baseball scoreboard has shown up, and we're going to schedule some time with the parks team to get that up at the youth baseball field. It looks really pretty. Got a giant jumbotron and instant replay, which will be awesome for the kids. Just kidding. See if you're paying attention. It's just a normal scoreboard. Ben has become our main point person with the rodeo grounds board. Ben Eichel, who's our co-worker at BB Rec, and has been meeting up with Jan and the team out there. And so they have a really solid relationship now and can work together on a weekly and monthly basis to make sure we keep good attention to that facility out there on the west side of town. Up and coming for another capital improvement project, we got some really neat stone, some flat wide stone. We're going to make our staircase from the River Park Trail down to the Whitewater Trail, in between the staircase wave and the Surf Chateau. That's going to alleviate about 10 other social trails over there to give people an identified focal area to get from the upper shelf down to the river's edge. Boys and Girls Club, we're staying in good communication with them. Philip and I are going to meet up with them, I believe, on the 23rd of October and do a site tour and see how their progress is going with their desires to build a new facility adjacent to Avery Parsons. It would also be right next to our multi-generational facility. So we're excited to see how that's coming together. Concerts in the park, for those that were there, they were great. Finished those up in September. So successful that a lot of the locals came out in September. They were just scared to come out. It seems like in July and August, it was so busy. So it was pretty local centric and just a really solid turnout and really good support for concerts in the park. Finished those up about 2 weeks ago. And our River Park fundraiser continues for upgrades. It's been fun to interact with the community and raise funds and awareness for our river park. And then we got a couple of benches that we're putting into the splash park. And our team decided that we might put those in memory of not anyone in particular, but for the Optimist Club, because they were so essential in helping us build our splash park. So in the near future, we hope to have 2 composite benches at the splash park in the shade, thanking the Optimist Club for all that they do for our kids. That's exciting. And community service stuff, it continues. I always say this, it takes a village to do what we need to do here. Today I had 40 kids from the BV cross country team help me do a really big skate park and pump track cleanup, but they also swept the whole loop for the safe routes to school, getting off all the gravel and all the debris as we're entering into the fall here. So that was a nice accomplishment with the cross country team. And then we have a big cleanup day with DPCA coming up here on Friday. Programming wise, finishing up flag football and youth soccer, super successful. Men's and women's volleyball is going on right now as we speak, thanks to DPCA's cooperation. Adult pickleball is continuing. They were going to be moving indoors, but the weather's been nice, so they're staying outside for now, and they'll be moving indoors in November. Facility updates from Ben. He is extremely busy working with a lot of people that are inquiring about future gatherings at the community center and our other parks and pavilions. And lots of people starting to plan their 2021 special events here in BV. We are starting to get busy and working not only with private groups for meetings, but also a lot of community groups, like the Chaffey County Public Health does diabetes training with us every week. And tomorrow we have BV schools coming in to take their PSAT tests. I get nervous just thinking about that. And as you know, we have several peaceful assemblies that are happening on Saturdays, typically between 10 and 12. And they're just that, it's groups of under 150. And they're not blocking any traffic. They're letting us know what they're doing. So we're in good communication with them. And so they're allowed to express their freedom of speech. And yeah, police chief and Ben keep a good eye on that. And we haven't had any incidents reported yet. So sorry, it was a long one, but that's what we got going on in a nutshell.
Thanks, Earl. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Earl?
I do, Mayor. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Hey, Earl. So, is the school not doing the Halloween parade? Is that the gist?
Good question. So Avery Parsons Elementary has just put in an application for the Halloween parade.
Okay.
So the way that works is that's during school hours, and they depart the Avery Parsons building and they walk down Main Street to the west to Railroad and then loop back on Main Street, typically back to Avery Parsons. All of our department heads have eyes on that application. Emily, who's our new principal at Avery Parsons, met up with Ben today, but I have not gotten an update. That was this afternoon. Because we're wanting to work through some reasonable approaches to how we're going to get 500 kids up and down Main Street safely with COVID. So I think we'll come up with a good plan and make that happen. Dean's been super supportive of it from the get-go, just making sure we do it safe and do it right. Now, there's a little misunderstanding about Trick or Treat Street. So that is a separate event that has historically taken place after the kids get out of school. So they do the parade, they go back to Avery Parsons, they grab their books and backpacks, and then they're dismissed from school. Then they head downtown and get candy. That's always been a business-led venture because it's businesses giving out candy to kids. It's not a town permitted activity. So there was a little misunderstanding. You can see it on social media. I've not responded to anyone. What I did instead was reached out to Melissa from the chamber, and she's going to inform all of the merchants about the potential if they want or do not want to do candy. But that's not town's call. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you. And Earl, I'd imagine it's going to be a ton of extra work for the parade, but my goodness, I feel like this community needs a parade. You know, I'm just really thankful that I know it's going to be extra work, but I think stuff like this is sort of return to normalcy that this community needs so badly. And I know it hasn't been possible, but it seems like this one can be done safely. So thanks in advance for making it happen, Earl. And let me know
Yeah,
if I can help anyway with the business-led candy. We're going to stock up 500 pounds. We'll be ready.
Awesome.
Anything else for Earl?
Are they going to do the Christmas open? They are going to do the Christmas opening.
Yeah, that's the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And
Their
they-
application
again,
just isn't in yet. Okay.
They are working with Ben. Melissa's been amazing. She meets up with Ben about every 2 weeks and gives him updates. And yeah, they're planning on having a successful yet different event.
Thank you, Earl.
Yeah.
Next is Public Works, Sean.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, trustees. My report's on page 53 in your packet. So along with the comparative water production, water build charting there, continue to keep adding the service line meter installation updates. So I'm just compiling that monthly, working with the inspections and the water operator reports. So chipping away at it, continues to increase. Looks like the Sunset Vista and farm developments are pretty active with most of the development happening right now in the farm. So and speaking of the farm, staff's right now kind of wrapping up a preliminary development review for phase 2. So that's coming soon. So those guys are moving really fast out there. And if you haven't been out there, oh my gosh, it's a really beautiful place. I recommend a field trip out there. They're doing a great job with that project. Wanted to touch on a couple of the water projects, just some updates. So we were able to get the VFD, that variable frequency drive unit, installed last week at the Westmore pump station. And just for a refresher, it's part of it's a major component involved in pumping our moving our water from the lower zone to the upper zone. So pretty critical piece of equipment. So thanks to Tony Johnson, him and his team are amazing. They do great work. The Ivy League tank recoating project is underway. Currently, we're blasting the interior of the tank right now, trying to get that thing done as soon as we can. The contractors and their staff are crushing it right now. They're doing a really good job and making pretty quick progress there. Wanted to talk a little bit about a few weeks ago, we had public comment in regards to West Main Street and possibly extending the speed limit beyond the going west, I guess, to Rodeo Road. So we evaluated. We don't think that it's going to be too tricky to do, and I kind of think that it's a good idea. I kind of stand behind that. Looking at the signage and extending that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit to the intersection with Rodeo Road there at the crosswalk. There's an image at that location, kind of a stop point there. I think that works really good. Just, took some time to look at it and to kind of evaluate that speed limit transition change. The only thing is, it's going to make all us locals get tickets because we're not going to be able to drive 35 there. No, I think that it's a good idea. I think there's more traffic on that road, and we have identified bike lanes and walking paths on that shoulder there. So I'm all for it. It's minimal expense. There's a couple signposts within that range that can be converted to 25. And I think the only thing I really see is the addition of a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit just to the west of that intersection. So as the basically the county and town city limits right in that area. So I think that's a great idea. I think we're going to continue to see more and more traffic heading in that direction, especially with the busy summers that we're probably going to continue to have. You know, we could talk about this in public comment, or we can follow up on and discuss this a little bit more as I move through my report. We do have a few things that we wanted to continue to improve on Railroad Street. We have some kind of clandestine crosswalks there, primarily the one that goes to the nature trail. So we want to add a couple more signs identifying that that crosswalk is coming up. We do have some good location or paint and signs at the site. I think that we could use a little bit more identifying that that's coming up. There's a lot of trees in that area, so sometimes it's kind of hard to see that crosswalk until you're up on it. But we're going to continue to work on that. I think our staff, our street department has a really good approach with that. Pretty much wrapping up, you know, most of our projects for streets as ACA continues to have limited asphalt batching. You know, we're going to keep trying to piggyback on the big orders and do some pothole and some small repairs. But I think this year we got most of our large patches done. So we were able to get some a lot of asphalt down, a lot of repairs done this year too. So speaking of projects, we should be wrapping up the last of the concrete going in on the Railroad Street sidewalk project as well. Engineering projects continue, pretty much the same ones. Those are big projects. We'll probably continue to see those projects run through the course of this year and into next year. Parks Department is winterizing the irrigation systems and, you know, just continuing to evaluate our seasonal restrooms, and we're going to leave them open as long as we can. But yeah, the season's definitely changing. A couple things, highlights, just a little update on the water plant field trip that I took with Al and Joe. It was great to see moving parts of what our feasibility study identified for possibly the direction that we're going to be moving forward into the future with our gallery plant expansion projects. And it was really good to be able to talk to water operators and engineers. So we're fortunate to get some feedback from guys that are actually taking care of that and getting to see how it worked and talking with engineers and just to kind of see what they liked and you know, what the challenges were. I won't bore you with the details, but you know, it's a rare opportunity. We get kind of locked in our box here at Public Works, and we don't get to get out and actually see things. So it was very enlightening, and it was well worth the time to go do that and investigate that. We had the RFP last Friday for the tree removal and tree trimming projects. We had three bids on that projects. Likely to award the bid this week. We'll keep you posted on that. And yeah, that last one there, that town engineer update, that's a tough one. Al Smith is spreading his wings. He's staying in the community, but we're losing our staff, our town staff engineer in the capacity of a town employee. The good thing is that we recommend and we're moving forward with setting up a contract based on the salary wages that we had booked for this year. And we're going to look to optimize our relationship with Al going into next year. I think that Al has invested a lot of insight. He's a stakeholder. He's staying in our community, and you know, he's invested a lot of time and helped with the direction, and really knows our system. So we're gonna move forward with that for until Al outgrows that. We'll see how it goes, but I'm really excited for Al. You all know him. He's amazing. I think that this is a good opportunity for us as well as Al. We're still in good shape. We still have good stakeholders around us, and we still have the resources that we had with Al in regards to all the efforts that he and the groundwork that he did, helping us move into the water plant expansion projects, a lot of these capital projects, the evaluation, you know, the development evaluation reports that he put out there. So He really wants to work with the town, and we really want things to work out for him as well. So I think we're going to be able to optimize our relationships and continue to move forward with his skill sets. Anyways, that's probably good enough for me for right now. Yeah, if you have any questions, happy to talk about anything.
Excuse me, trustees, do you have any comments for Sean? Questions? Go ahead, Libby.
Sean, I was wondering whether you're starting to get any results from the piezometers in the infiltration gallery.
Yeah, thanks for asking. We are, and it's that, we wanted to take a year's worth of data, and we want to start looking at it right now too. So yeah, absolutely. We have about 11 months worth of data right now, and I think it's a good time to start looking at that. So we're going to kick the tires with our engineering consultants and see what that data shows. So yeah, it's here. The data's there. So yeah, it's time to look at it. We're getting ready to open all that up right now.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Libby. Anybody else have any questions?
Mayor,
Yes,
sorry to
go ahead.
interject. I accidentally muted XS Max because I didn't know who it was, but it looks like it's Trustee Nyberg.
He's trying to come back.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hey.
I've been here. I don't know what's going on here, but I got a question for Sean. That last snowstorm, that big tree that's across the street from the intersection of Rodeo Road and West Main, are we going to get some of those branches on that tree trimmed? Because they were really hanging down.
Yeah, West Main and Rodeo Road, that willow tree that's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Norm. Yeah, we saw that. Yeah, and it looks good. It looks like we might be able to get a little bit more work done with the bids that came in for that RFP for the tree trimming. We didn't initially have that tree on there, but I think we're going to be able to work with that fund to get that work done. Thanks for
Okay.
Anything else, Norm?
No.
All right, thank you, Norm. Thank you, Sean. Next is Airport, Jack.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Hope all is well. Our staff is back. We're full complement of staff again. Randy was out for a week or so, but he's back. Operations wise, we had a Goose in. They left at the end of September, and for phase 1, they're back for another week here for phase 2. They just arrived Monday. They'll be here until next Monday. The other 2 helicopters are still tracking. We're still getting requests for information, so they're still scheduled to be coming in at the end of October, early November for most of the November month. So that'll bump up our jet sales and fuel sales for that in our operations. So hopefully we do some catch up. Event wise, just because we're going to have testing during October, part of October, and we just want to keep people out of the airport as much as possible that really don't have to be here for flight operations. So we've canceled our business after hours that we normally host in October. We'll be back next year for that. We also have a CDOT capital improvement workshop coming up in October. So we've projected a number of projects that you'll see eventually when you look into the ClearGov, some of the stuff that we're requesting to do. And hopefully after this meeting, CDOT, we might be able to get some funding from them as well to help out in some of these long-term projects. So we're projecting out 5 and 7 years out for some of these projects. Runway rehab is now complete. We're finished at the 30th of September, so we opened up the runway. So you can see if you go down into operations, we did drop off in some of the operations just because of September. Our runway was closed for most of the month for this, but we've picked up in the last couple of days and the last couple of weekends. People are back in full strength, and we're seeing a lot of operations. Our small piston engine 100 low lead sales are above from last year, just because that seems to be a lot of people just getting out and around. And hopefully through testing and again, the last couple of weeks, we've seen an increase of jet sales. And that's about it. That's all I have if there's any questions.
Trustees, do you have any comments, questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, actually business items on the agenda. And it looks like we're going to resolution number 56. Is that correct, Philip?
Fire mitigation.
Off mute now. We're gonna hear a presentation from Chaffey County.
Okay.
And folks on the fire mitigation project proposal.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. So that's item A, fire mitigation project. I'm not seeing everybody that's out there, but I know there's a handful, possibly. Cindy and Keith Baker.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lacy. And
how you doing, Keith?
Good. How about you?
Good.
Good. Good to see you.
Kinda.
Yeah, even if remotely.
There you go.
Well, thanks all the other trustees and staff and everybody here. I'm just going to introduce this because, like anything else, I'm not the worker bee on it that knows everything. That's Cindy and Kent and others. But as you remember, we being the county, passed the 1/4% sales tax a couple of years back to fund Chaffey Common Ground. It was one of the ideas that came out of Envision Chaffey County, and it had been kicked around for years before. But the three pillars of Chaffey Common Ground are: one, preserving agricultural land and keeping agriculture as a vibrant part of our economy in the county and all the benefits from it; and two, mitigating the impacts of outdoor recreation by trying to fund improvements around trailheads, campgrounds, etc. And then and helping with education so that people know how to behave better on our public lands and don't trash them. And then third, and what this is about tonight, is healthy forests and healthy watersheds and what have you. And one of the elements of that is fire mitigation. And it doesn't just mean treating the forest immediately adjacent to development. It means being wise about the forests that we treat, because there might be remote areas of the forest that we treat which have great benefits to watershed health and can also be an ignition point or a dangerous point for fire to begin that would threaten development. In this case, the project is up by Railroad Bridge up near the Otero Pump Station. And with that, I will hand it over to Cindy.
All right, thank you, Keith. Good evening, Duff and council. So as Keith said, and Keith, thanks for teeing this up on the agenda. We want to share with you tonight the Railroad Bridge project and ask for the support of Buena Vista and the Town Council, both in a letter of support and financially on the project. The project's collaboration of the Envision Forest Health Council, which involves all the characters that you see on this slide. And a number of those folks are on the phone tonight, and I'll just ask them to introduce themselves to you real quick, including Kent, Pat, and Marcus.
My name's Kent Maxwell. I'm with Colorado Fire Camp, and I'm a battalion chief for Chaffey County Fire.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Pat Mercer, and I'm the Leadville District Ranger with U.S. Forest Service.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Marcus Seelig. I'm Vice President of the National Forest Foundation based in Salida.
And Phil, if you could flip to the next slide, please. If the council remembers, about 9 months ago, we came and spoke to you about the new next generation community wildfire protection plan in Chaffey County. And in that plan, the team that you just saw prioritized places in Chaffey County where treating between 5 to 10% of all the land in the county will result in a 50% decrease in the risk that severe wildfire poses to lives, to homes, to critical infrastructure, habitat, and recreation. And those areas, if you guys all remember, are on this map that you see up on the screen in the bright colors. And what the Forest Health Council is doing is working to treat 30,000 acres in the next decade to have risk in the black areas that you see circled. And the one that we want to talk to you tonight, we're just kind of working through these one at a time and working to tee up both projects cross-jurisdictionally and funding. And the one we want to talk to you about tonight is the Railroad Bridge Project, which you see up there just north of BV. And if you can flip to the next slide, Phil, we'll hand over to Pat, and he can talk through the framework of the project.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Thanks, everybody, for giving us a little bit of time. Thanks to Commissioner Baker for helping us get on the agenda this evening. So the Railroad Bridge Project is one that was developed a couple of years ago out of the Leadville District Office, because the extent of the district stretches down to just north of BV before it transitions to the Salida District. So the project itself, Railroad Bridge proper, is about 2,200 acres. Shows 2,700 there with the addition of some other treatments that have gone on around there. And so the primary purpose of the project was a habitat improvement project to start with. But of course, when you're looking at decreasing the number of trees out in an area, you're also looking at fuels reduction too. So with that, you know, the ancillary benefit of improving big game habitat is it extends some level of a fire break and some safety to the surrounding communities. And that's part of what the Railroad Bridge Project does. The north end of that is right there around Otero Pump Station. You might be familiar with that, and that is, you know, protecting infrastructure is another reason why we extended the project boundaries up that far. Right now, the project as shown, you know, like I said, is 2,200 acres, but it is complemented by the Mount Harvard project, which is on Bureau of Land Management lands, which is the orangish colored polygons you see there, sort of light orange, which is another reason we set it up that way, because that big polygon that the cursor was just over there is implemented. And so the Railroad Bridge Project on the Forest Service land just adjacent to it is just a nice complement to that. There's also some private land opportunities around there in the communities. And just for awareness too, out of the 2,200 acres that you see there in the green shapes, 500 of that, right next to that big orange polygon, have already been implemented in partnership with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So we've already gotten a start on this, and we're looking to build on that with a restore application. It's a GOCO restore application specific for habitat improvement work. But like I said, the ancillary benefit here is fuels reduction. And so we're seeking at this point to put together that grant with National Forest Foundation to the tune of about $350,000 or $400,000 for the grant. And what helps us be competitive for that is matching funds, as it does with most grants. So we're looking for some extra funding for this. Cost of implementation anytime you're doing things in some rugged country is high, but we'd be looking to start out at the southern end of the project area, the sort of the southernmost green polygons you see there, and take a bite out of those, which also coincidentally are closest to BV. And then there's also a further fuels reduction potential with this, with some, once we get the stuff, some of this stuff is going to be hand cut. The hand thinning and that would be complemented by pile burning. And then otherwise, the other treatments in there would be through mastication is what we're looking at. So it's a really good thinning treatment, well thought out. And we'd be looking with this grant and other dollars to do more work on the ground next summer. With NFF's help on that, I think we can make that happen. So yeah, our grant application is due at the end of the month, and we're looking for all the support we can get. With that, I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Thanks, Pat. Nice summary. I might, Ken Maxwell is on, and I know, I mean, as Pat mentioned, the one of the benefits, a primary benefit of the project is habitat enhancement. But as we worked on the Chaffey County Wildfire Protection Plan, this area also was prioritized. And I wonder, Ken, if you might just be able to talk a little bit about the, you know, how real or isn't real the danger of severe wildfire in this area coming into BV and the possible benefits related to that.
Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, so what I see this from a fire perspective is that so much of the work that's been done on forest land is focused on the west side project. So think about up in the Collegiate Peaks. And so this really gives some effort on mitigation, river left for the rafting community, thinking about up there, Midland Trail, down 4 Mile, Elephant Rock areas where there really is a potential for a fire to either come off of private, go up into the public land where it's very challenging to fight, or something that originates up on forest and then works its way down the valley and then becomes a big impact to the town of Buena Vista and with our summer recreation. And we got so much at stake. So you know, anytime that we can do work to make that mosaic out there on the land so that fire doesn't have a continuous fuel bed to work its way through, I think we're doing good work. And so definitely, I think this is of value to the town of Buena Vista.
And then if you can flip one more slide, Phil, please. Thanks, Kent. So in a nutshell, as Pat mentioned, we're busy working on this Restore grant. Marcus Selig with NFF has graciously put staff time into putting the grant together. And NFF will be the applicant. Project sponsored by the folks you see here. The Forest Service, CPW already has some funding in this mix. BLM has work going on their side of the fence. And then matching funds we're trying to pull together include the list here. And I don't know, Marcus, if you have any updates on these or if you want to talk through them. I'll hand over to you to hit that list maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. And thank you all for the time today. So for those who aren't aware, just quickly, National Forest Foundation is a nonprofit partner of the U.S. Forest Service. We work on national forest projects across the country to improve national forest system lands, and definitely taking a keen interest in this project and on the larger effort across Chaffey County to really improve forest health. So we wanted to come in and help with this particular project, pulling some grant funding together. We recognize that to make a very competitive grant to this Restore program, we do need these matching funds. So as soon as we decided to come in and help as a group, the group realized that we needed to go after some matching funds. So we are pursuing talks with Colorado Springs Utilities and City of Aurora, primarily because of the protection of the pump station. We are working with the county to pursue, we will be pursuing common grounds funds for this project as well, which will bring matching funds. We're hopeful that we're going to get support definitely from the cities to support this work. They've definitely expressed an interest in projects that will reduce fire risk to their infrastructure. So we're hopeful, but we just started that outreach for those conversations in the last couple of weeks. One other thing to note too, and Pat, I don't know if you mentioned this, the Forest Service is putting significant effort into this project, not only the planning that happened up front, but as we look towards some of the pile burning or prescribed burning that might have to happen associated with this project, that's potential match from the Forest Service as well. So this really is a fully combined effort of those beneficiaries of the project, and we hope that the City of BV will consider being one of those supporters as well.
Thanks, Marcus. And then as the last note on this slide, just a couple of thoughts on Cottonwood Creek. You might have noticed Cottonwood Creek also shows up as a high treatment priority zone in the northern part of the county. And Kent, you might talk to the work we're doing there, but in a nutshell, we're not as far advanced on that project as we are on this one. That might be a perfect project for Restore next year in 2021, but not quite ready yet. I don't know, Kent, if you want to build on that at all or not.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Yeah, definitely we see North Cottonwood Creek as being a high priority, particularly for the subdivisions around there, the Trail West, Game Trail, but there's also a lot at stake for the town of Buena Vista water supply. And so we think that we can pull together a really solid project. We're looking for maybe a 1,000 or more acres on private land that we can pull together. And we've started to had some meetings today with some of the landowners up there off of North Cottonwood and Mercury Creek. So we'll move forward with that, but we're not as far along on the development of the actual plan.
And then if you flip to the last slide, Phil, we'll just wrap up and have questions. So really the ask for the council tonight is two things. Would the city of BV entertain providing $10,000 of matching funds that we could include in this grant proposal and that would be spent, assuming that we receive the Restore grant? And the second is, would they include with that a letter of support along with it? Anything I missed, Marcus or Pat or Kent?
This is Keith. There's one element that people that live up here are more keenly aware of, I guess, than some others, and that's the vitamin B trail originates up in that area and extends south from there. And that's a pretty big draw for serious mountain bikers. It's a serious all mountain enduro quality trail. And it would be a crying shame if something happened to that. It would impact our mountain biking attraction or attractiveness. And so there's an element of preserving it and keeping it in good shape too.
Good point, Keith.
Thank you all. Trustees, comments, please. Go ahead, Libby.
So does your analysis show that a fire north of us would be likely to get blown down into town, by north winds? I've always thought fires might come from the west, but you're saying it is apt to come from the north?
You want to speak to that, Kent? You're probably the best person to field that question.
Yeah, I think the impacts from it is that there is the possibility that something that would perhaps originate up in the Buffalo Peaks wilderness would work its way down valley. So definitely a lot of the prevailing wind comes out of the west. But we can definitely get the winds from any direction that will drive a fire downhill. And definitely that was Salida's experience with the Decker fire as it moved down off of the high country and then down towards town and made some fairly dramatic runs with that. And so it's just something to be aware of, is that you try to estimate where the greatest fire risk is, and then also just hedge your bets is something I've learned in my 30-some years in fire here in the valley.
Yeah, Lib, I think, what we're dealing with is we got a 360-degree threat axis these days. And, the fires in certain locations have jumped multi-lane interstates, and the river won't protect us. So this is an area that the people that study these things have assigned a priority to. Again, thinking about it, perhaps not in the front of mind thing like you and I would think about, but looking at it strategically is an area that we could spend a relatively small amount of money for a high payoff effect. And we're lucky to have Marcus and Pat and Kent and others working on this to help bring that level of expertise to the problem. It's not a guarantee that there wouldn't be a fire initiate from the west and pose a threat to the town of BV, but this is one area where one might initiate, and it could threaten vital infrastructure like the pump station. Again, not directly affecting us that much, but it is vital infrastructure. And it might also impact some economic values we have with the river, with the bee trail, and some of the others.
Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Keith. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Yep, I do, Mayor. Thanks. Hey, Keith Baker, it's Amy Eckstein. Thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.
And thanks for everyone for presenting. I'm really relieved you guys are looking at fire mitigation. It is so frightening to think of a fire in this area. Keith, can you help me understand the tax that we have for protecting our forest that passed a few years back? And
Yeah.
feel free if you want to go back to the funding slide. Is that money going towards that, or where does that fit into here?
There's, I don't know if Philip or whoever just highlighted it there, the common ground. There's a request for $50,000 from common ground funds for this particular project. And then, like any other thing, I mean, you've been in this business long enough, whoever the major grantors are want to see community buy-in. And so that's why we're looking for a contribution from the town of Buena Vista. Even though it's not in the town limits, the understanding is that a fire up here could threaten the town or threaten some aspects of the town. And so that's why we're looking for the contribution there. You see Springs Utilities, because of the Otero pump station, City of Aurora, ditto for that, Forest Service, and then we got the Forest Service Foundation and others that are participating in it. We're really lucky to have the Forest Service Foundation. Marcus is one of their, I don't know if you caught that, he's one of their senior leaders, and he lives here in Chaffey County. So it's really beneficial to have him here. Did that answer that, Amy, or is there any more you need to know there?
And if you wanted to, if we could go back to the other high priority areas. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. So like in terms of a timeline, is this trying to, what is the priority in terms of, I mean, that's the main one, the railroad bridge, and then up through Chalk Creek and Maxwell Park. Is that the three main ones that will be the priority? Is that like a 2-year project? Like how long does a project like this take, I guess?
I think Kent, Pat, and Marcus are probably better equipped to answer some of the details on that. But yeah, the objective is to treat 30,000 acres by 2030. I think I've got that right, because there's so many 30 by 30 projects going around in the outdoor world, public lands right now. I may have that one confused. But as you see with around the hot springs, around Antero, Hecla, and here, we're looking for those high payoff projects right now that would help defend critical infrastructure and development. And then we'll work our way on up into the more remote areas of the forest.
Yeah, and what's not shown here is some of the work that is being done on that western side of the valley there. So thinking north of North Cottonwood Creek, up along those subdivisions, Game Trail, 3 Elk, 4 Elk. Adventure Unlimited is working on a large scale project on their roughly 1,000 acres. I think they've got an NRCS grant for a couple hundred acres of treatment,
yeah.
and we've done work along there. I would say more directly to the question about timeline is that we're gearing up for a project that will pull together in a grant application this spring for try to bring in several $1 million into the county to hit on more of these top priority projects, and try to get significant work done in the next couple 3 years is what we really see getting a lot of the work done on the ground. And other projects we've got through the valley, down Methodist Front, Coyote Valley Road, are a couple that we've got teed up that we'll be working on next year.
And just to add on to that, as we're looking at how to phase these projects to get the biggest bang for the buck or the most done as fast as we can. Part of it is absolutely looking at the prioritization, and that's what the map helps us see by the coloring is as priority from a wildfire risk standpoint. But we also have to take into account resources and funding to get the work done. And so one of the reasons that we're looking at Railroad Bridge now is because we have a funding opportunity in front of us with this Restore grant that can really serve as anchor funding to get that moving. And it just lines up well with the grant criteria. So this is really an opportunity we're trying to seize immediately. And we're just trying to make it as competitive as possible so we can get that work done fast.
So the match is to make it most competitive. So
Absolutely.
not just, so the money means more than just a letter? Because I would think that the money could come from that common ground, but it sounds like you need it from the town as well. Is that the...
Yes. What we see is that when they see a community, a local community, the town and the county putting skin in the game and saying this is something that's important, it does make it that much more competitive.
Okay, thanks.
And keep
Debbie,
in
go
mind, this
ahead.
is one element of the broader community wildfire protection plan. We're looking at things like, look at Chalk Creek down there. You know how we're looking at things like escape routes from there, safe havens, LZs, and other places for people to find haven until we can rescue them, because there's really only one way out. You could go over Tin Cup Pass, but you have to have a pretty good vehicle to do that, and then the road's going to get crammed if everybody's trying to get out that way. And looking at what kind of development we allow where, and building codes and survivability, all those sort of things. This is just one element of all of that to make Chaffey County a more fire safe county, not just a fire wise community like we have with some of our subdivisions.
Libby, you had a comment, go ahead.
In the big picture of things, are we talking about $10,000 paid once, or is the expectation that it was $10,000 a year for 10 years?
So
I think
the
the ask
ask on
that
this is,
we're,
go ahead, Cindy, sorry.
go ahead, Morgan.
But yeah, the ask is 10,000 once for this specific project to invest in this effort. I guess not to, as we look at some of the other projects that are of interest to BV, I mean, it could be that if match is needed for future projects, that there may be a future ask as well. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but for this one, it's 10,000 once to support this project.
Yeah, we're not trying to get you on the sustaining membership plan. Get your credit card number and hit you up.
Yeah, I think it's easier for us to agree to $10,000 once than it would be to sign a check or a promissory note for 10 years of $10,000 payments.
Thank you, Libby. Keith. Go ahead, Cindy.
It is a 10,000 once for right now. I think that $10,000 is a very, very small price to pay for what it could avoid. And the preventative measure from it is worth a lot more than $10,000 in my opinion. And I am willing to vote on tonight the letter of recommendation and the 10,000.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Norm, did you have anything? Dave Volpe?
I think it's important to get out. I'm sorry, I have headphones in
my house right now, so we're all in space, so forgive me. I think it's important to get out of this, given what's happening the West Coast. I think we'd be remiss in not taking advantage of the opportunity. A letter of support is easy to do. My question is for Michelle, if we can look at where we're at as a town with a budget. I'm assuming this would have to be a budget amendment, but I'd like to know where we're at with the general fund and what's left that we can, how far in the red are we over our 2020 budget so far?
Well, that's an easy question because we're not in the red. We're in the black, pretty healthy. If you wanted to do this fiscal year, then yes, it would be a budget amendment. Right now, I'm pulling up my sales tax spreadsheet to give you a dollar amount that we're surplus. Currently, we are surplus over budget. We're surplus a couple $100,000.
Okay then.
So I believe if the trustees wanted to allocate 10,000, I'm going to be bringing a budget adjustment next meeting. And so if the trustees wish to allocate it, I can add that to what I was planning on bringing.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Dave. Norm, do you have anything?
Yes, I am wholeheartedly in favor of this. There's too many fires going on now, and we've got to start someplace to try to mitigate these things.
Thank you, Norm. Devin, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm 100% part of this. I think it's super helpful for the town and for our recreation. I was just curious, like, would this need to be a budget amendment now? Do they need the money now, or would it be for the next year's budget?
Sounded
Sounds
like it
now.
was, they needed it by the 30th, wasn't that correct?
Okay.
The commitment anyway.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm for that, for an amendment then, budget amendment.
Okay, thank you. You know, the only, I guess, question I have is, has Chaffey Fire been approached at all about any of this? About any commitment that they have dollar-wise or anything?
No, there hasn't been a specific.
You can probably take that one better than anybody.
Yeah, there hasn't been a specific request to Chaffey Fire. Chaffey Fire's big focus this year has been supporting the Chaffey Chips efforts on the slash collection, which was a project that really started from about 15 years ago when the town of Buena Vista had the rodeo ground slash collection piles. But that's been the biggest focus for Chaffey Fire on the fuel mitigation with the communities around, with the 4 communities identified for 2020.
Okay. Would anything change, let's say if, let's say Aurora and Colorado Springs step up, chip in some good money, would there be a possibility that would move up mitigation around Cottonwood for our water protection?
Actually, I'll maybe speak to that a little bit, Duff. I think the bottleneck, if you will, in the Cottonwood Creek area right now is engaging the private land. And Chaffey Fire and Envision are out on the ground doing that. My sense is we're maybe 6 to 12 months, Ken, from having a project together there. I think a project there is going to be a fabulous candidate for common ground funds as well, and as well perhaps for this sort of grant in the next year time frame. So it's just a little bit, it's just coming a little bit later, I think, than this one.
Gotcha. I mean, you know, and I look at this project and I think it's fantastic. The dollars and cents do not sound out of reason at all. I look at our water protection as being a high priority also. And so that's the reason for that question. So let's say we more revenue is generated through Aurora and Colorado Springs. Is that going to help? That's my question. Basically, can that help possibly keep us on track to get into Cottonwood as soon as possible? That's the only thing.
Yeah. Hey, Duff, this is Keith. I think if Aurora and Colorado Springs are somewhere, just somehow we wound up with enough money to do this project without the BV contribution, which is more than symbolic at $10,000. It does help us get the grant, but it is, you know, it's more than symbolic. Then we could reallocate those resources to the North Cottonwood project, perhaps. I mean, it's not a promise, but it's certainly something we'd look at if we found ourselves in that lucky situation to have plenty enough money to do it without BV's 10,000.
Well, and that, you know, and I'm not saying we aren't there, Keith. I believe just by hearing what the trustees say, the money isn't the question at all. It's more or less putting that Cottonwood into a priority status somewhere.
Right. I heard the time is really more of an essence to you than
Yes.
it is the money
Yes.
or anything.
And that's
I
really what
got
it
you on
is. I mean, obviously, if something were to happen there, we'd be in dire straits.
Yeah. If you remember a few years ago when Rich was our public works director, that was when, you know, South Fork fire had happened, and we were just starting to begin to understand that really the secondary effects are often worse than the fire, especially if there was a fire up there and you get debris flows and all sorts of things that could pollute our source water. And, you know, that would be a bad situation for us. That's basically our point source for water.
Exactly. No, I appreciate everything you guys are bringing forward. Trustees, if someone would like to make a motion to direct staff to draw up the letter, or if they have a letter that we can review, that we'd be happy to look at that and also commit to the $10,000.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Cindy.
Second.
Second, Faye. Further discussion, anybody?
Yep. Mayor, I'm thinking about what you just said, and how do we get our water? I guess we can talk about it later, but it's so critical to protect our watershed. And this is, of course, we need to do both. I just wonder how we can how that can become a priority, or I guess.
And I think, Amy, and that's what I'm trying to do, is plant the seed. Just make sure.
It's a great point.
Sure, you put it high on the radar.
Yep. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
It's one we want to watch for. Thank you, Amy. Any other discussion?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor, just real quick. I just would suggest that maybe on this chart, can we get our source water area circled? I get that, you know, some of these other locations may pose a bigger threat to evacuation, and that, and I'm not going to argue that. This is our water. We lose our water, there's a lot of people in dire straits. So maybe if we can just get this one circled, and we can continue the discussion of how we can help make that a more timely project.
We can certainly take that on, Phil, and just so everybody knows, the spots on that map that are in red are the top priorities in the county. So the Forest Health Council is working on all those red spots. And like I said, we had, I think, Kit Maxwell and our new Envision Chaffey County guy were out on the ground today talking to folks in that community and working to get the private land side moving. So we hear you, and we're moving it.
Yeah, and just add on to that, we're also in the midst of putting together a large-scale funding application through the NRCS to support work on private lands that would include work in those areas as well too. And that is something we're also going to need at least some type of letter of support or financial support for too, as that starts coming together in the spring.
You know, we appreciate you putting that. Obviously, that's very important to us. So we don't want it to drop off the radar at all. Philip, do you think that will be sufficient, just keeping that in mind?
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all.
And we are initiating a watershed health plan, which is going to be analogous to the wildfire protection plan and the Forest Health Council. And so this will be certainly high on the radar for the watershed health program. So there's, you know, kind of an intersection of the two there, the forest health and the watershed health and the source water protection plan.
Thank you, Keith. Any other discussion, trustees? Paula, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Eckstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Trustee Rowe? Trustee Swisher?
Yes.
Trustee Volpe?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Did we lose him?
Are you out there, Devin?
Maybe he got locked up.
Could be, but we've got a majority
Yeah.
vote. So we're all good, correct, Jeff?
Thanks for protecting our lands. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much, and thank you for the presentation. You know,
Thank you.
obviously, we'll be looking forward to more information. Y'all have a good night, and thank you very much.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great
Thanks,
team. Thank you.
Next item, if Becky's still awake. Update to Housing Authority IGA. Should the Board of Trustees approve adoption of Resolution Number 56, Series 2020, entitled, "A Resolution of the Board of Trustees for the Town of Buena Vista of Colorado approving a revised establishing intergovernmental agreement for the Chaffey County Multi-Jurisdictional Housing Authority and rescinding the Board's September 22nd, 2020 approval of a prior version." Philip?
Yes, thank you all. So here we are again. And again, Becky's on. Thank you, Becky, for staying up. And I'll hit the highlights real quick because I know we got other presenters, and I think this is pretty straightforward, hopefully. So at the last meeting, the board did approve the IGA, or to sign the IGA, forming the housing authority with the other jurisdictions in the county. Unfortunately, at the end of September, the town of Poncha Springs voted to not join the housing authority at this time. And so what we've done is we've revised the framework, the IGA, and basically excluded them for now. So that's from a boundary standpoint. It's also from the makeup of the board of directors. It still will be a 9-member board, and 2 positions will be appointed by you all, the Board of Trustees, and then 2 of the positions that were coming from Poncha will be more at large, and Becky can speak to that a little bit if you have some questions on that process. So just highlighted again, the memo is basically the same, just highlighted the key changes. The IGA, which is attached, is updated, and we have a new resolution number 56 that would approve us signing that IGA. So Becky, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Philip. I really appreciate how you queued that up. And really the only thing I want to add, other than being available to ask or answer questions, is to just express my gratitude to Trustee Fay and Trustee Eckstein, as well as Philip Puckett for participating in the steering committee and helping us work through this. I'm very excited to see where this housing authority is going to go. It's a little bit one of those exciting / overwhelming moments, and I just really appreciate all of the hard work that everybody's put into this. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
You've been a great fearless leader of us, Becky. Thank you for shepherding us through the process.
Thank you, Libby. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Becky. Any other questions, trustees, that you might have? Looking straight at it, looks like the budget impact to be around $3,300 difference. Not a major impact for, in my opinion, of what the return on investment could be. Any other questions, trustees, or I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution or deny.
I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 56, series 2020.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, Fay. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Eckstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Swisher? Trustee Swisher?
Yes.
And Trustee Volpe?
Yes.
Thank you all very much, and thank you, Becky.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate your attention to this matter.
Now you have to go to work. like you haven't been, right?
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you all. Next item is a presentation by the Beautification Advisory Board. We will hear an update from Beautification. Joy, are you going to lead this off?
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
Hello.
Joy, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get your slides up here. All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right, let's go here.
Okay.
Is it up?
It's up.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It's great to see a lot of faces and to be able to see lips moving instead of looking at a mask. It's even though we're at a distance. So I want to go through the projects that we've been able to accomplish in 2020, what's still coming up, and then look at our budget requests for 2021. So we start off with the planters for this summer, and we had a little change of course for this year when spring came, and the town realized that there might be some staffing changes for the summer due to COVID. So we came up with a plan for our planters on Main Street to cut back the maintenance on these. So first of all, we cut back the numbers. So we just cut back to the Main Street planters. And then instead of flowers, we switched to grasses and vines for this year so that they wouldn't have to be fertilized. They wouldn't need the deadheading. They wouldn't need the deer spray. And quite frankly, I thought they were stunning. I thought we would really be settling for this year, and they blew me away. So Merrifield's put this together for us at the last minute. They switched courses too, because they always put aside annuals to fill our planters with every year. So this was a last minute switch for them, and they did a fabulous job. So then looking at the next page, we spent quite a bit of time as a beautification board working in the Xeric Gardens this year, in the Splash Park. What we did this year to really help the town and help with maintenance on these items was that each of my beautification members adopted one of the Xeric Gardens to really be in charge of, to weed, to mulch, to take care of, keep an eye on it. And for the most part, they looked really nice. We're still struggling a little bit with these and getting plants to grow well in them. We're still struggling a little bit with mulch running out onto the sidewalks. And so this really is a project that we're still working on. We're still trying to perfect it so that they really are full and beautiful. So just so you know, we're working on those. So then when we look at the next page, we had 3 new utility box covers built this year. And the utility box covers has been a pet peeve of mine for probably 15 years. So there is one at Railroad Street, one at Colorado Avenue, and one at Court Street. And so this project was not paid from town funds. For those of you that don't know, the Beautification Board does fundraising each year. And so we covered the cost of this project out of our fundraising budget. And pretty happy with how they turned out. They will rust, but one of the things we did was we had the tops at an angle to maybe dissuade people from climbing on them, also for keeping the water, from just sitting on top of those. But so far they seem to be working well. If you'll go on to the next page. Thank you. All right. So kind of looking back a little bit, at the end of 2019, we did grow our tree. So that was one of our projects from 2018, was to add that new 3-foot section. So our tree grew to 17 feet tall, which is amazing how big of a difference it made. Circumference wise, it's really as big as it can get at this point and still fit in the splash park. So we aren't planning on growing that anymore at this point. We had a Scarecrow Contest, as we've been doing for years. And we're working on that again this October with a little different twist, just so you know. We are turning it into more of a scarecrow hunt. So we've invited not just businesses, but we're inviting residential homeowners to participate, to put up scarecrows so that they can be visible from the street, whether it's in a window or outside. There'll be a sign in the yard with the name of the scarecrow, and then we're gonna be inviting kids in town to find the scarecrows that are in town, write them down on a list, submit them to the library, and then we will be drawing winners, and kids will win prizes. And we'll also ask the kids to pick their favorite, so we can have a scarecrow winner when it's all finished. So we're excited about that. That'll be different this year. You may not have known that last year we added some snowflakes to the highway because we had more lights after CDOT's highway project. So we ended up having 5 more lights made, and we actually put the lights on those snowflakes ourselves. So that's something that the Beautification Board does. So we went and wrapped the new snowflakes, and we also have to go through the old snowflakes and fix lights that break down. So you may have noticed last year that there were 5 that were brighter than the rest. That's because they had new lights on them. We had no idea it was going to be that big of a visible difference. So over the years, we will be changing out lights just because it does make such a huge visible difference to have some of those so bright. All right, so upcoming in 2020, our budget items were put on hold, like much of what happened this year because of COVID. So we are moving forward with getting 3 more benches built for Main Street for this year. That was in our budget. And the plan with the benches has always been to put a bench in front of each business on Main Street that wants one. So at this point, these 3 benches will get us to Colorado. And so we're really getting close to, we'll just have 1 more block that we'll be wanting to get through with benches. We don't have any student benches at this time because the school's closing and other factors. So we're really hoping that come spring of 2021, we will possibly have 1 or 2 student benches again, but we just don't know if that's going to work out. So these benches come from 6 Line Metalworks out of Salida. We're really excited about our sculpture for the highway median near the fire department. We are moving forward with that. The plan is to have that built this year and probably not installed this year, but at least have it built and have that ready to be installed. I mentioned the Scarecrow Contest. And then, of course, we have a long season where our planters look pretty sad on Main Street if we don't have fun with them. So we have people on our board that work on beautifying those throughout the winter and changing them out and making them interesting. So that takes us to our budget request for 2021. There's no surprises on here. We're looking at flowers, care and plants for the xeric gardens, more benches, and then it was brought to our attention that we still do need more trash cans for the South Main Park. So we're asking for money for 2 more of those to be built, bringing our ask to $14,250. And just so you all know, one of the things we're really going to be focusing on in 2021 is to continue looking at the highway and how to beautify that. Main Street really is beautiful at this point. And while we have ongoing projects there, we know that the highway is where the need is at this point. So we're really going to take a look at how to beautify that median at Charles Street. We're going to work with Sean and come up with a plan for that. It's not in this budget ask because we don't have a plan yet. So hopefully we'll be coming to you all with some sort of plan in the coming year as to how to make that median attractive. And we'll let you know what we come up with. But we're going to start there. Every project is a big one and takes time. So you just got to bite off a little piece at a time. And that's what I have for you.
Thank you, Joy. Trustees, do you have any comments or questions for Joy?
Hi,
Go ahead, Libby.
it's Amy. Oh, Libby.
I like the planters, and I like those xeriscape gardens that you made on the corner. I think those were just totally appropriate for Buena Vista.
Thank you, Libby. Amy, go ahead.
Sure. I second what Libby said. Thank you so much for taking care of those. They're beautiful. For trash cans in South Main, is that trash and recycling? Is that kind of all in one?
This proposal is strictly for trash cans, not for any recycling containers.
I think I'd like to hear more about the benches. Will those black benches replace the memorial benches, or is it in addition?
No, it's in addition to the memorial benches. What they replace are the wood slatted benches that are on the black metal frames. You know, the wood, even after it's restained and replaced, it doesn't last long. It just doesn't wear well. So our goal with the benches has been to replace those and then, you know, to add 2 benches on Main Street. The wonderful thing is that they all get used. So, you know, my personal perspective is you can't really have too many. So the idea is, yeah, the memorial benches will stay, but the wood slatted benches will all go away.
Okay. Do you work with the Historic Preservation Committee about the style of installations and stuff? Do you work closely with them, or are they okay with the black powder coat? Or,
you know, we started this project long before that group was formed, so we have not had a conversation with them about those. This is an ongoing project that, goodness, I don't even know how long we've been doing this now, for 6 years, 7 years.
Great, thanks. And I think I'm not sure exactly if trustees is it I guess this is my first looking at a budget approval, I guess, is I would probably say if there's needed more trash cans in South Main. I'm not sure if there's if 2 will be able to handle the needs. There's so much more use down there. Would it be better to just move from the bench money to just make sure those trash cans, that there's recycling as well? But I mean, the total budget doesn't, I think that sounds fine. I just think, I think it's more important to get recycling as well as ample trash cans for South Main. That would be my only comment. But thanks for all your work, Joy. Looks awesome downtown.
Thank you.
Any other comments, trustees? Go ahead, Joy.
Can I, yeah, so the recycling containers on Main Street, that was not Beautification Board project. And so honestly, I'm not sure who took that on.
Go ahead, Philip.
That was us. So staff did that, at least the latest one by the splash park. I really don't even know the origin of the funding of that. It was a few years ago, but I think one thing that we need to consider if we want to add recycling containers is that also adds to the ongoing maintenance. So either staff has to compile that or we expand our trash service. So I think it's worthy to look into, but it's not just paying for the trash can. It's also the pickup service as well.
Do you think I mean, is there any gauge as 2 cans? Is there trash problems? Is trash overflowing?
Yes, definitely some trash problems there. Especially this year with a lot of to-go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And 2,300 each, are they metal? Are they the steel?
Yes, so there's 2 decorative trash cans down there now, Amy. And they have, they're decorative. They have the BV town logo on them. So they're beautiful, and that's what we're proposing. We add 2 or more of those, and they're also apparently well looked at from the perspective of bears. So
good point.
Pointed out that they've been a good deterrent for bears down there apparently.
Thank you, Joy. Any other questions for Joy at this point? And reminding trustees that this is a presentation. None of this is etched in stone, obviously. So keep that in mind. These are suggestions by the Beautification Board, and we appreciate it, Joy. We appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Anybody? Thank you, Joy. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
There was talk that the Beautification Board was going to be doing stuff out at the cemetery. Has your group talked about that? Is that happening, or this is the first time you've heard of it?
There was a conversation about the cemetery, and it's on our let's get to this list. So we haven't had any serious conversations about it, Cindy.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Joy. Next is Trails Advisory Board. I'm looking. Kelly.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you for asking the Trails Advisory Board to come and give you a progress report. I'm not sure that's exactly what you asked for, but that's what I'm here to talk about. Please, next slide. In 2020, we're just going to be able to fit in the new river access that Earl mentioned, the stone staircase that's going to go down and hopefully entice people to walk down the staircase rather than to go through the brush and slide down through their social trails. We've continued the Adopt a Trail program, and all of our trails are adopted, and we even get reports from the adoptees on how the trails are doing. We have 3 new Trails Advisory Board members, and we've been doing a lot of trail planning, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Next slide, please. Is that the next one? Ah, that's the next one. We've been looking at trail planning in quadrants. This is our first quadrant, the Northeast. It has the most trails. The trails here are largely covered by the GOCO grant that includes the pickleball courts. The one I'd like to point out is the bright green trail that circumnavigates the river park there. It is the extension or the completion really of what we've been calling the ADA trail, but it's going to have a new name because we would like to suggest naming it the Walton Loop around the river park. There are 2 trails that will be volunteer built. That's Northeast 3, which is a single track trail through the disc golf course. And the little tiny pump track trail down in the south part, the single track that goes around there, that's going to be a skills building single track course. Northeast 4 is the Whipple Trail restoration as well as the bridge decking that the grant application for to Parks and Wildlife was submitted this year, actually just this month. Northeast 1 is an extension of what's the Rock and Roll Trail, which is that asphalt trail that goes along the river. It goes partway to, or a little ways down, but we'd like to extend that so that it gets to both of the fishing accesses along the river there. So you could access that trail by the stairs or come back up the stairs. So those are the Northeast quadrant trails. The next slide, please. Southeast quadrant is to complete the Cottonwood Loop. And this is a trail that I think of as starting off of Railroad Avenue along the nature trail behind the high school, down Marquette, the new bridge that is part of the CDOT grant at Arizona, extending along Arizona Avenue to the Zebulon Pike Trail, then down to the river, along the river, and then coming back through town on bike lanes along Gold Street, and then on Railroad Avenue back to the nature trail again as a nice loop for walking or bikes. The second one is a tiny one that you can see up above on the left, Southeast 2. This is, we've called it the Cactus Trail. This would be a second safe route to school from the western part of the farm. We have talked before about the water line easement that will provide a route from the east end of the farm towards the schools. This will be from the north end, so it's a second route to school that keeps anyone from having to go along County Road 317. We don't have cost estimates for either of these yet, except to give a high, medium, or low, but we do have the length there. Next slide, please. This is the Northwest quadrant. We've really started thinking large here for, and this would be bike lanes along existing roads. So, and it will require working with the county, particularly on the bike lane for Crossman Avenue. So it would be Crossman heading to the west, coming over, what's that road? 361, thank you. And then by the Harmon fishing access down there, and joining with 306 where there is already a bike lane. That's about 6 miles, that would be about a 6-mile loop. Next slide, please. Southwest quadrant has two. One is the Peaks View Trail, which is partially in place. But if we could connect it to the sometimes called Railroad Trail, and then the right-of-way that's along Gregg Drive to be a trail as well, then we would have a nice loop that's about 4 miles around. That's the Peaks View Loop East, and to the west, this is something that's not at all existing at this point, except for the gas easement to the north there. And this would also be along the existing gas line and existing roads, but would be looking for bike paths or paths that are lanes that are along the roads for people and bicycles. Next slide. So this puts all of those that I just talked about together in priority order. The Trails Advisory Board looked at how much of these trails was already existing, how much the land access had already been worked out on any of those. So those Peaks View loops where there isn't anything really existing now, those are the lowest priority because they'll probably take the longest to work out. The highest priority ranking are those that were in the 2 grants that were mentioned earlier, and we're hoping with all of our fingers crossed that those will come through and we'll be able to build the first 3 trails on this trails plan. What is next for trails planning is to develop the cost estimates and the plans. I call them the project descriptions for these other trails. How long, what the surface is going to be, how wide, exactly where they're going to go. The Trails Advisory Board is starting on that for our number 3 priority, the Cottonwood Creek Loop, and at 3 o'clock on Friday, we'll be meeting there at the Nature Trail to start this loop. If any of you would like to join us. So next slide. So I said my next steps already. We're going to develop the project descriptions. From those descriptions, we'll be able to come up with cost estimates for those and recommend a phasing plan over some number of years to try and implement these trails. Meanwhile, keep our eyes out for grant applications and come to you with budget requests as they come up. I'd like to point out that this photograph is Alex Ware and his dog Gracie. We were measuring the width of the Whipple Trail as part of the grant application. And I can tell you from measuring it personally that over 80% of this trail now, of the first 1,500 feet of it, is over 80% is less, and in some cases much less than the recommended width under federal guidelines. So it's been severely eroded, and you can see that in this photo. Next slide. So I'd like to give my thanks to the Trails Advisory Board. We have the volunteer members listed in order of longevity. And to the town trustees and staff, Dave Volpe, Sean Williams, and Earl Richmond. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. Trustees, any questions or comments? Dave, do you have any input?
I do not, other than, sorry, I have to take off my.
I have not been at the last couple of meetings. Can I ask you, Kelly, about the ADA trail that was put in last year? Any feedback or opinion on how that's held up this year?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your question. The ADA trail.
Yeah, that was surfaced last year.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't get a chance to compact it. I'm wondering if you have any feedback or update on how that held up, or how the use has been this year.
It seems to have held up very well. I know I talked to Taylor Boone, who did that, and he was feeling very pleased about it this summer. After having winter snow on it and enough water, that he felt that it's compacted and useful. And I've seen wheels on it. So I see people taking their babies out in the strollers. So it seems to be working well.
Great, thank you.
Trustees, any other comments? Kelly, we really appreciate what you've done here. This looks really nice. Nice presentation, and also thank you very much for the help on the recent grant application.
You're welcome.
You'll be called for more, I'm sure.
Only if I'm successful in getting it.
No, that doesn't count. We want bodies. We just want bodies. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is recreation. Earl.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm here on the line, and Mackenzie is joining me, our co-chair of the rec board. Thanks for joining, Mackenzie. I just wanted to echo everyone's thanks for Kelly and all that she does for the Trails Advisory Board. Enjoy also. Just amazing to have volunteers in our community leading some really big projects, and yeah, Mackenzie is one of those as well on our rec advisory board. So we're excited to do a little presentation tonight. We're gonna trade off between the slides and fill you in on what we've accomplished in 2020 and what some of our goals are as we enter into 2021.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mayor, trustees, town staff. Thank you all so much for having us. We will try to make it short and sweet. You guys have covered a lot of ground tonight, and we'll just cruise along. So you all know us well, what our mission is and what we do, so we can kind of just jump right into the next slide, Phil. The rec department's mission, just as a quick recap, providing rec programs for every age group and every different interest. Special events, Ben's tasked with that, which is a great getting collaborator through all the departments through town, and then facilitating stewardship of all of our resources and existing facilities, which is something that the board focuses a lot on too, which is maintaining what we have before we build anything new. So you'll see in our asks, we're doing a lot of maintaining, but we also have some good goals of new stuff too. And then they obviously collaborate with us and the board. So the three powers that be on the next slide, Earl, Shane, and Ben, they are rock stars and run this place like mad.
The picture was in September, by the way.
So yeah, Earl, take it away.
Awesome. So, as you know, programming is what we call and deem the heart and soul of BV recreation. We had a very successful 2020 season, even though we've had to kind of reinvent the wheel. We really took pride into being patient, working with Chaffey County Public Health and Colorado Department of Health to make sure we could get our programming up and running when it was deemed safe to do so. How we did that, smaller group sizes, shorter sessions, a lot of safety precautions and health and wellness screenings as you come in the door, and really good communication with our participants, because things are always changing. If you're a parent or a kid in these programs, we get emails that, someone's canceled or things have changed. So we've done a lot to stay in good communication with our participants. Special events in BV, as we know, it's a big part of our community. And again, this year we were lined up in 2020 to have one of the biggest special event seasons on record. Most everyone canceled or postponed their events on their own, which was great. We didn't have to make any of those hard decisions for folks. Again, that was Ben's commitment to really good communication with our applicants. 2021 is already starting to shape up. We're having initial meetings with folks that want to host their events and bring their events back into 2021. Our board has been great at working with us, giving us advice, and we asked them a lot of questions. And we're gonna look at certain key dates like the 4th of July and make sure that we don't get overwhelmed with too many additional new events on weekends like that, and really keep encouraging people to bring their special events during our off seasons, which are more the months of October, November, and March, April, and May. Slide. All right, so last year our big push was to open the community center to the public every day. This year we weren't allowed to do that due to restrictions and guidelines from public health, but we were still able to work with so many people and do so many different things. But how we did that, we just did smaller capacity in our room, so 10 people max in the Aspen and 20 max in the Pinion. Less frequency of rentals so we can have ample time to clean, more cleaning, thanks to our team and Ashley and everyone that's helped out with that. And then our self-guided checkout system. So we're happy to be able to offer folks to be in our community center and our facilities and our fields and pavilions. It's been a really good summer. We just were able to get the high school in tomorrow. They'll be doing their PSAT testing with us at 8 a.m. So we're excited for that. Facility management, I mentioned that earlier. That's Ben's main role, making sure we're communicating with people, letting them know what their ability levels are and what their max number of guests can be in each of our facilities. He does a meticulous job at communicating with our folks that are renting our areas from the town of BV. It's been great. So trail maintenance and trail development, that's another big part of what we work on. I give my reports to the trustees every month about what we're doing on the trails, but again, we have a great community that gives back. We have the saying, no dig, no ride. So you're not out there helping, you're riding and running. Options are limited. We have a great relationship with the Trails Advisory Board, and they're doing a great job to help us bring our trails into fruition here. We were able to create a 0.5 mile track around the pump track, which is almost done, and prioritizing our new trail developments each year, which Kelly presented to us earlier. So in the future, we got a couple grants in, the CPW grant, which I spoke of earlier. to redo the bridge and the trails across the river, but we're also still finishing up a grant from last year, finishing up our 9 miles of single track. It's really just additional signage that we're getting out there and doing some final touches to finish up that grant. And yeah, we're excited. As Kelly had mentioned, you know, their top 3 priorities from the Trails Advisory Board is being put into our GOCO grant ask. So if we can get awarded that grant, we feel very confident that we have a solid application in. We can bang out 3 big projects next year to assist our goals with trails.
So jumping into what we did last year with the budget that we were so gracefully given last year. So in 2020, if you want to jump to the next slide, we were able to finish off the skate park. We added that border and put new signs there. So there's a new half pipe out there. So that's a much larger facility now. Gets a ton of use. Track rehab, which also has new courses and new signs and a new single track going around it. And then the outdoor volleyball courts have been completely redone. So new sand, new nets, and new lines. And then they are continually working out at the disc golf course, adding additional tees and baskets so that there's different places to play from and to and all that good stuff. So, and then we still have some work to do from the money that we received last year. The youth baseball scoreboard, Earl already touched on, it's here and just needs to get installed. So that will be completed by the end of the year. And the work at the rodeo grounds is always ongoing as well. So they are currently working on a new gateway sign being built over the entrance. And they're doing some roof repairs and just some facility upkeep out there. Earl also already touched on the new benches at the BB Splash Park. So those have been ordered and will also be installed by the end of the year. And then the last thing that we got funding for was the McPhilmy Park shade structure. And that is not, unfortunately, not going to be able to get done this year, but we're hoping to get that in the spring of 2021. So that was us for the last year. Sorry, go ahead, Earl.
I'll say quick update on that. I actually have a meeting with our contractor on Thursday. So I can give an update to the board at our next meeting. We're going to do what we can to try to squeeze it in. It's just our contractors are extremely busy. We had to do a pretty lengthy floodplain review for that structure that just got caught up in the county. It took a lot longer than we thought, but we'll do everything in our power to do what we can in 2020.
So for 2020, we also prioritized a bunch of stuff, again, going off of our basis of maintaining what we have before we ask for anything new. So as part of the Conservation Trust Fund money, we're hoping to use $18,000 of that to get the lights all fixed up at the softball fields and tennis courts. There are safety issues and code issues, and we just need to get all that. So we had done work on that 2 years ago from the 2019 budget cycle, where we've added fixtures and switched them over to LEDs, and now we just need to update wires, and we'll continue to switch out standard lighting to LED lighting. So that's a big project for us. And then on to the next slide, we've talked about this multi-generational facility a bunch tonight already, but this GOCO grant asked for $406,000. If we get that grant, we would also want to spend about $20,000 from the Conservation Trust Fund as the match, as the cash match from the town. And that's going to give us 6 dedicated pickleball courts, the ADA trail, the new single track around the whole course, and a new restroom. So that would be a huge new facility to add to the river park, which would be really exciting. Another one of the biggest facilities that we use now for all of our programming is over at DPCA. So we are asking for $12,500 from the general fund this year. This would essentially enable us to do 3 years of our maintenance plan in this building, of taping and floor work and all of sanding and resurfacing. Shane is out there retaping and cleaning that facility all the time, and it would save us a ton of time and make everything just easier to use. We have a great yearly agreement in place with the new director over at DPCA. And obviously, before we spent this money, we would finalize the multi-year agreement that we've been working on with him to ensure that we can continue to use this facility so that we can put this funding into one of the biggest places that we use for our programming and be able to use it in the future, you know, not just waste our money for a couple of years. So that's a big ask for us. And then on to the next slide. The rodeo grounds. Next year is the 100th year anniversary of the rodeo here in BB. So we're asking for $5,500 to upgrade their PA system so that they can have a banger celebration next year and obviously continue to use that for years to come. And our final ask of the evening. These guys spend time running around from field to field and back to their office and to the storage shed for all of the equipment on their bikes and on their feet and in their personal vehicles. And it would be spectacular if we could get them some sort of vehicle like a gator to transport equipment and themselves to get to all the bustling of all the activities that they do through town. So this would, you know, be used all on the east side of town, not crossing the light, but mainly at the fields, just to help them with field maintenance, hauling trash, event management, all of the, you know, equipment that goes from soccer practice to softball practice to whatever. So it would be a great way to ease the running around that they do. So those are our asks for 2021. And then just to give you kind of a window into where we are looking in the future, a couple things that we still have on our horizon. The BV Rodeo grounds, we're looking to add some structures out there, a pavilion type of thing where we could have more events and have more stuff be used out there. The Forest Square basketball court and pavilion are in dire need of upkeep. That's over by the Chamber of Commerce. So there's trees and stuff coming up through that basketball court now, so we could use some love over there. The Whipple Bridge is part of the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, so that will happen sooner if we get that grant. And then still on our radar are the Sunset Vista Park and Trail. So we need to figure out what we can do over there. And then the ice rink is also still in discussions as well. So that group is hopefully going to get a resurgence of energy this winter. That is it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Trustees, questions for Mackenzie or Earl? Libby, go ahead.
So it looks like on the ice rink, what you have in there is just kind of the experimental ice rink for this year. Is that right, in the budget?
Yeah, this is Earl. So we don't have a budgeted item for 2021 to ask for assistance for the experimental ice. We are waiting for that crew to come back to us with an updated plan. But you know, they have raised some money, and we have some money set aside in the town's accounts. So if they're ready to move forward this winter, We have some funding already to do experimental ice.
Is that some of the funding they got, I guess, over the past couple of years, Earl?
Yeah, it was fundraising efforts that they had done 2018, 2019.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else, any questions? Well, thank you both very much. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you all.
Earl, it's, you always have a bunch and it's always welcome. You know, obviously.
I'm glad you say that.
Well, you know, we're a recreation town.
Yeah, that's why we all live here, right?
Yeah, what can we say?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
can we say? Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is left my glasses off. There we go. Gallagher Amendment B. Should the Board of Trustees approve adoption of a resolution number 57, Series 2020, entitled, "A Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Buena Vista, Colorado, endorsing the passage of Amendment B on the November 2020 ballot." If you all recall that we kind of had a discussion about this, it's an option of the trustees that we can pass a resolution like this in support of various things that are on the ballot. If it's something that the trustees all believe in or would like to support, then this is something we can do. Philip, would you like to add anything?
Joel and Jeff did a great job putting this together for you all. So Joel, do you want to point out anything, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Basically based off of what we, you know, your discussion at the last meeting and trustees' interest, I think this pretty well sums it up, and it looks very good, as Philip says. I don't know, Jeff, I think you're threatened by, you know, Joel's input here.
He did all the work, so I think I just might have changed one or two words. It's all Joel's work.
It's cut and paste.
There you go. There you go. Trustees, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Libby.
I think it looks really good. I read through it and I think y'all did a fine job on it.
I think it's to the point and basically supports the communication that I think the trustees put forward. Any other comments? Dave?
Dave. No.
I couldn't help it, Dave. I'm sorry, man.
Thanks. Our business community, I think that we need to endorse the passage of Amendment B, as well as, to support our schools as well. So yeah, I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, trustees? I would entertain a motion to approve or deny resolution number 57.
I move that we approve resolution number 57.
Thank you, Libby.
Second.
Second, Volpe. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Eckstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg? Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Rowe? Trustee Rowe?
I love Zoom.
Trustee Swisher?
Yes.
Trustee Flope?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
We have a quorum. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Joel. Thank you, trustees. Next item, and nobody's bailing out. Michelle.
You know, Mayor, just one quick comment. Just
yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. Just for the record, we basically had a majority vote of our quorum. So.
Oh,
just for
yes,
the
I'm thank
record.
you. I'm thank you. Yes, I did word that incorrectly. If Devin
Thanks.
would like to speak up now, we would take him anytime. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Okay, Michelle, you're on.
Well, it's your
Oh,
favorite
excuse me.
time of year.
Let me rephrase that, Michelle. I need to open up a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff's nodding his head going, yes, you're right. Okay, this is a public hearing on the 2020 budget. I will open up the public hearing. We'll hear from staff first.
2021 budget.
Yes, Michelle.
It's your favorite time of year again, and the budget is found on page 112. My memo is on page 112 of the packet. The first thing I wanted to do is to reiterate that we are moving over to the ClearGov platform in order to do our budget this year. It's a collaborative platform so that everyone can look at what they want to look at, and it's changed if you make any changes or comments or notations. It's all done in real time, and so anyone else that is actually in the program at the same time will see a little window pop up that says there's been a change made, and then you can go look at it. We are prepared to give you a quick tour of ClearGov, but right this moment, I think I want to get setting the remaining meetings for the budget. And those are, well, Philip has them up. The 27th, which is next meeting, both meetings in November. And then we hope to adopt on December 8th. And I believe we need to have you guys make a motion and set those meetings. We've already noticed them, but we can change the notice if we need to. And I believe we noticed them as Zoom meetings. So let's dispense with that first, and then we'll fire up the ClearGov and kind of give you guys a look around.
Okay, what I would like to do, Michelle, is this seem correct, Jeff? Move forward with the public hearing, that we could open up the hearing for public comment at this point, and then we could come back to this portion and look at approving those dates and setting them forward. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. And then we can go into the ClearGov, Michelle, and spend more time there after we close the public comment. Okay.
Okay.
So
fine.
I will open this portion of the meeting for public comment. If there are any participants or anybody listening who would like to make public comment, please raise your hand on the chat or the cell phone, and we will let you speak. And I'm looking, I don't believe I see anything. Okay, I will close this portion of the public comment. Trustees, we have before us what we want to do is have a motion and a second to set these public hearing dates. And then we will have a presentation by Michelle for the ClearGov so we can see how we can navigate that system. So I would entertain a motion to set Tuesday, October 27th, Tuesday, November 10th, Tuesday, November 24th, and Tuesday, December 8th as the future meetings for our budget hearings.
Oh, I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Libby.
Second.
Second, Swisher. Further discussion? I will take a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Eckstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Swisher?
Yes.
And Trustee Floppy?
Yes.
All right, thank you all very much. We will set those dates. Michelle, now if you would like to go ahead and give us a presentation, a brief presentation. I'm sorry, I had to say that. On the ClearGov system.
Okay, so about between 5 and 6 o'clock, I sent you all invitations to review the general fund and the capital improvement fund line items. And all you have to do is click on the link in the email. It'll take you to the sign-in page where you have to set up a username and a password. And then once you get in, you will see this home page. And Duff was kind enough to let us use his sign in so that we could show you what it looks like on the reviewer side. So once you get into the home page, you can click on that budgeting link right there, and you'll see you have the general fund and the capital improvement fund to choose from. In order to get into those, you will click on the edit link, and that's going to give you a dashboard. And we clicked on the general fund, so that's going to give you the general fund dashboard. If you want to shrink that on the left hand side so you have more room to look at the items. Additionally, you can shrink up the expenditures, revenues, and surplus, and then the charts by clicking on the buttons that show chart and metrics, and that gives you a lot more room to look at these line items. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to do is click on Customize Display, because it's kind of funky, the columns they give you. And we recommend it's the requested, Philip, the fiscal 21 requested button, and then up above you have 2020 budgeted actuals, and then 19 actuals. And you can actually go back and see all the way back to 2010 actuals if you're interested, but you would have to click on the button to get the column in the line item detail. So having clicked that, we're going to save it. And then another key is up here you have tabs for expenditures and revenue. And so depending on what you want to look at first, you would click on that tab. We have expenditures up right now. So then you would expand. You can expand them one at a time, or that one, the plus sign next to expand all, just expands everything. And then you would scroll down. Philip, what do you want to show them first? You wanted to show them the...
Let's go to public support.
Okay, that's going to be down at the bottom there. So that, and it's kind of funky the way they ordered the departments in the general fund. but essentially you're going to have the mayor's elections, clerk, muni court, administration, which is going to be finance, well, I guess not finance, these are the departments in the general administration. That's what I was trying to say. Closer up there, you'll find the police and the fire, and public works is above, community services and recreation, all of that stuff. It's like I said, it's kind of ordered funny, but dig around. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to hurt this. I promise, Dave, you're not going to hurt this. Public support is other expenses. And so this first column is the account number that we always had before. And if you scroll across, you're going to see the columns, the 19 actuals, the 20 actuals, the 20 budgeted, and the 21 requests. And unfortunately, there's no way to shrink these columns yet. I'll be requesting that modification in the program. If you scroll all the way to the right in these lines, there you have a series of icons here. And the icon that on the far left to the right of the little lock, because you can't get into that one, but you can get into the notepad, which is actually a subline item detail. And so we've gone through, and a lot of our line items we've gone through and put in the detail. Police was very, very good. Dean put in a lot of detail. And so there's a lot of stuff there for you to look at. And the way you can tell there's something in that icon for you to look at is that it's green. If it's gray, there's nothing there. The conversation bubble is next, and that gives the conversation, if you have a question, to Philip or to me or to the department head, which happens to be Philip for this one, then you can type in your question. You can even add an attachment, and then once you save it, if you want to scroll up, you can show them you save it, and then once it saves, it'll send an email to Philip and I as the administrators of the program, an email that says that we've got new conversation responses in the conversation bubble. Looks like Philip attached something also with the public parking lease, because that paper clip is green. And so then he uploaded the agreements for the railroad parking and for the school parking. And so that you could download and read through if you have any questions about that. The next page is, this looks like a piece of paper there. That is just short explanations. So Philip had loaded the Housing Authority, just notes, and those notes will carry forward to the next year so that we know, as well as the line item detail, all of that will carry forward into the next year. So we can look back at, okay, what did we say about this? What line item detail did we have about that line item? And it helps the department heads in the budgeting, but it also helps you guys as you're reviewing it to see what was last year and what was this year. And if you noticed in the subline item detail, there are two tabs currently. One is 2020, which there's nothing in. you want to click on nope, to the left of the conversation bubble. If you click on that, there's 2 tabs, 2020, which there's nothing in because we didn't do our budget last year here, and 2021. But next year when we go to do the budget, it'll say 21 and 22. And so then you can look from one year to the next, and it'll be a lot more helpful. Anything else you want to point out here, Philip?
Yeah, I think one thing that may come across as a little confusing, at least it does for me, but so we have different iterations in our column. So I think that what you'll want to do is focus in on this FY full year, fiscal year 21 in progress. And the reason that is because this FY21 requested is actually what the departments submitted up to Michelle and I. But really, that's not where you want to spend your time. So you could actually take that column out and you focus in on this one here for 2021. Because Michelle and I made adjustments, and we also input all of the salaries and wages and things like that to make a complete budget. So just to focus in on this column for looking at 21. But again, it does allow you to go back to, okay, what did we budget in 20? And we also, Michelle's loaded in 20 actuals to date through what time or what month, Michelle?
Through September 30th.
So you can reference that. Revenues and expenses come in at wacky times. So obviously don't dwell on it too much. You can ask Michelle and I, and usually we can explain why an actual number may look a little off. But anyway, a good way to look from year to year budget wise. And it's got great little indicators. You can see where things have gone up, things have gone down compared to previous budget. So I think, no, Michelle, I think you hit all the main things on revenue. Again, there's these higher level categories that are kind of new to us. Public safety, community services, public works, culture and recreation, general administration. Just expand those, and then you'll see the departments as we've been calling them. So,
and you,
I think
yeah,
on expenses
every time there's a plus sign, you can drill further down into more detail. If you don't want to see all that mess, you can click on this department button right here and have it. Oh, well, it's by objects or departments. So if you want to look at salaries and benefits, now they're all grouped together. All the departments of these categories are grouped together. So if you're doing that kind of analysis or just wanting to look at different groupings, the other expenses is usually just operating expenses, since this is the general budget. The transfers, that is what we transfer. If you look at the subline item detail, you can see that amount is, I don't know why that CIP transfer is showing up double there.
Yeah, it does that sometimes, I've noticed. Anyway, airport and the capital improvement fund.
So that detail is there. Yeah, so that was the expenses. The revenues is on the other tab at the top of the grid, and you can look in there. Yeah, so then you would scroll down of the grid and scroll all the way to the right. and you have the same, set of icons. There's some conversation bubbles in there. Okay, so we're gonna have to change that one because we have, we're
August.
gonna get August here pretty soon, so it's pretty easy to get around. When you want to look at the capital improvement fund, you would go back to all budgets, brings you back to that dashboard. Then you go in and edit, it looks the same. You can shrink up all the metrics and stuff if you want. You can actually leave it up there if you like and just scroll down. You're still in expenditures. Oh, sorry. Yeah, expenditures or revenues for the capital improvement fund. And so then you would see it under recreation, and you would see the gator, which is the 10,000, and the structural repairs, that would be the 12,000 for the Whipple Bridge, I believe, but the subline item, that's the DPCA floor resurfacing. So this is going to also cut down a lot on wondering where your project is in the capital improvement fund. I know Earl will call me up once in a while, or Sean will call me up once in a while with projects and want to know where to code invoices to, and now they can look in here and see where their project is loaded so that they can code it, because the account number is one that scrolls off the screen, but it's right there. And so that makes things a lot easier.
Michelle, just real quick, I want to point out one of the nice things you'll see in the general fund especially, but any of the funds is it will show you how the revenues and expenditures stack up against each other, and will show you, are we projecting a surplus or are we projecting a shortfall? And as we reiterated during the budget work session, we bring forward a structurally balanced budget. So you'll see if we go back, or when you go in and look at the general fund, we are showing a small surplus. And that includes transfers to the capital fund to do our capital projects out of the general fund. So that allows you as trustees to not worry too much about trying to balance a budget, but rather kind of digging in, understanding, where we're going up or down. And especially on the capital projects, Michelle put together a great cheat sheet on what is included in this budget and what is unfunded in this budget from a capital standpoint. So that's in your packets. I would recommend that you study that first as you're kind of learning ClearGov, because still coming into the capital improvement fund, it's still a little hard to find under expenditures where all these projects line up. But we'll all get there. It'll be a little bit easier every time we use this. But just so you can quickly start looking at, okay, what's included in this structurally balanced proposed budget, that capital cheat sheet is in your packets to get started. I also want to point out that what you heard tonight from Beautification, Trails, and Recreation, all of their top priority recommendations are in this proposed budget. So again, you can kind of compare that to the capital cheat sheet, cross-reference that. I think those, Michelle, I think that's what I wanted to highlight.
And that's pretty much everything. Would you go up to Duff's name here and click on that? So if you want to see what the public will be able to see, you can click on this and it gives you the outward facing part of ClearGov. And the one thing I really, really, really like about that,
Get that out of there.
I've
Sorry.
never seen that little guy before. And they're adding stuff to this platform all the time, and they're improving it all the time. So I'll end up saying, well, you can't do such and so, and I'll try to do it, and you can do it, but at that point. So there's demographics, and if you scroll down, or there's all the demographics. They get this information off of the state demographer's website. That's looks like our debt. And then we can look at revenues, expenditures, and this is looking into the books at this current time. So what's in revenue and expenditures is 2021. Now you can look at different years because that is right above the banner here. If you scroll up the different years back to 2017, and those are all actuals for the completed years. The 2021 is usually as of the end of the month before the month we're in. And so then, and I don't know how helpful it is, but it does have a little, so if you scroll down a little bit, Philip, it does have like public safety and the water and the expenditures per capita per year. It does the formula so that it takes the general administration budget, expense budget, divides it by the population, and puts up this little per capita per year so that we know, you can see what each citizen is paying for each service. The public safety is probably the one most people are interested in. Per year, per person. I haven't really verified that yet, but click on the view breakdown right under the per capita for public safety. Okay, that's kind of cool. It shows you fire and police and for the incident deployment. So there's a lot of exploring you can do in this software, in this platform. Like I said, there's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna break it. The admin there, that's the internal portion where we're gonna do our budgeting. And that's about it.
I think, Michelle, it's a great tool. I think for the trustees, we want to focus them in on the budgeting. The public facing, we're going to continue to explore that as staff and figure out ways to get good information out there, including our budget book once our budget cycle is over. So just so you know that it has that front end as well, but we'll make more use of that later on.
So the capital improvement cheat sheet that Philip referenced, I'm not sure we need to go through that, but
no, just know that it's there.
And it's real similar to what we had last year. So
Are there any questions or?
Trustees, any questions?
Sure. I don't know if you can see this, Michelle, but this is from the budget book last year, and it's a pie chart breaking down by expenditure type in addition to just the different groupings. Do you think that will be somewhere on ClearGov, or?
Yes.
Will that, okay. Is
Yes.
that under peer groups or charts?
No, peer groups just compares us to our selection of who we consider our peers. And I believe I selected Salida, Woodland Park, Gunnison, and I don't remember the other one, but we selected some peers to see how just to compare. I'm not sure how accurate that is, because unless Salida actually is in ClearGov, then the information that they populated with for Salida, know that ClearGov has populated every town that they can get budgets and stuff on.
Okay.
But everybody reports their budget differently, and so it's not necessarily correct or accurate between towns unless they're also part of ClearGov.
I would say we're still learning how to do reporting through ClearGov. So if there's a particular way you want to see the totals,
okay, thanks.
Just let Michelle know. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks. And do you want to communicate? I can send a note to you through this. Is that the best? Is that what you guys prefer?
Just email me.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
And then I know this is going to be a bigger challenge for some of you than others of you.
Hey, watch it.
What I want you to know is that you are more than welcome to come up to my office at any time, and we can do one-on-one tutorial with this. I did this with some of the department heads because everyone's on a different page as far as technology is concerned. So sometimes it doesn't make any sense at all. And so I'm more than happy to, just do a tutor. And I think you'll catch on very quickly. It's not always very obvious, but sometimes it just takes a little poking around and you'll be fine.
Okay, are there any other questions for Michelle at this time? Okay, go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, I had a question. You created an account. I don't know if you said this already. I might have. But how do I create an account? Do I just type in my name or something, or is it?
Yeah, did you click on the link in the invitation email I sent you?
Yeah, and it gives you a window. Do you just create an account, or do I?
Yeah, no, you create it.
Okay, cool.
And I think they should use their trustee emails, correct?
Right.
That would be the easiest, and then you would select your password, and then it doesn't allow you to save passwords. So you're gonna want to make sure and remember it or write it down somewhere.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to be changing it a lot.
Right. I think it's great. It's a lot better to look at this than the giant.
The nice thing and what I want to stress is that the problem with using Excel is that sometimes formulas would get broken, or we would add something and that something wouldn't be included in the summation field. And this gets rid of all those type of errors while still presenting kind of like an Excel spreadsheet.
but it's interactive. And you and I can both be working in it, and you'll see the changes as they come up.
Anybody else have any questions for Michelle right now? And keep in mind, you can reach out to her at any time if you have a problem.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. I'll be in the office tomorrow. I'm done with my quarantine, so I will be in there, and you can come up, call, whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Michelle. And so, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to have a motion to continue this public hearing?
That's right, to a date certain.
Yes, and that would be October 27th, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. All in favor, say aye.
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 You in on it, Norm?
I said aye.
All right, okay, good. Opposed? Hearing none. We have a date specific, Jeff. We're ready to go. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, and thank you very much, Michelle and Philip. This is, I think it's going to bring out the interest in budget, Michelle. Okay.
Right. Promises, promises.
We're hopeful. We're hopeful. That's all I can say. Next item on the agenda is trustee staff interaction. Dave Volpe, what do you got?
Nothing. I'm all good.
Oh, surprise, surprise, huh? Joel, do you have anything you want to add? Is he still here? There he is.
I do. I've got
Good.
two quick things. One, I think we're close. We should expect to see the lease agreement for the Texaco, that whole thing next meeting, hopefully. So, so that's looking forward to that. And then the second thing is about the Sangre de Cristo, working with them on, remember we've been talking to them about getting some different street lights around town and conceptualizing that. You might not remember because it's been about 8 months since we started this, and we finally got one light bulb up that is to check out. So if you guys are driving around at night and it's you find yourself near the corner of Cedar and Belden, there's a 3000 Kelvin light, which is kind of a more orangey glow, and it has now a shield around it that it creates a downcast light. So if you guys are out and about in the next week or so and can check it out and maybe tell me what you think, this would be for more like a neighborhood kind of a light. In other words, hey, we're lighting up the intersection. We're lighting up, maybe a crosswalk or something, but we're not necessarily lighting up like the back corners of people's yards and stuff. Okay. The main street lights would be something different in the more commercial areas. All right.
Okay. So really, that's kind of a request, Joel, basically.
We'll need to get feedback from y'all if you guys think, yeah, that's good, or no, it's not what we're looking for.
Gotcha. Thank you, Joel.
That's all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Paula, do you have anything?
No, I'm going to tag team Philip here in a little bit.
She's gonna let me talk.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking and I'll add as needed. Nope. Just a quick reminder, the town hall is a ballot drop-off site. So when you get your ballots later on this week, you can drop them off here at town hall or go over to the annex building off of Linderman. So.
Thank you very much, Paula.
Yep.
Jack, do you have anything?
No, we're good here. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
everything.
Jack. Mark Doring.
been quiet. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, Mayor. I just have a couple of quick numbers for you guys. First number is 5. 5 years ago, yesterday was my first day. So it's been 5 years of very interesting work here in the town. And this next number is 5, which is 5 years ago tonight, the board was hearing the public hearing for the hotel. So a lot has changed in 5 years, and hopefully we get to make a difference moving forward in the future. So with that, I just will say the last number is 10. It's past 10, so I'm going to shut up.
Thank you, Mark. And man, it doesn't seem like you've been around that long. Sorry. But you did lose the tie. That's kind of okay. Okay, Libby.
Okay, I have something. I need 5 minutes or less. But Jeff, feel free to chime in if I've got something wrong here. But I think we have some problems with election signs. And the problems as I see them are, number one, there are election signs that are on the public right of way. And then there are places where there are more than 2 signs per property. So there are lots of those around town. And then the third thing is that there have been a lot of sign thefts. And the sign thefts are concerning because they're trespassing, they are stealing things, and they're an infringement on the homeowner's free speech rights. So I think there are some things that we could do about this. One would be to allow somebody to remove the yard signs that are in the public right of way. That would be one thing. And we don't seem to have any, there's no obvious enforcement of the 2 sign limit. So I think we could either notify the violators of the 2 sign limit or allow everybody to have all the signs they want and, you know, maybe just limit it to 1 sign per candidate in your yard. So everybody gets to have whatever they want in their yard. And then by the next election, I think we should pass an ordinance that would allow for everybody to have more signs or have, or maybe have enforcement and penalties of whatever our rules are. Because right now we have rules that we're just not following. So that's my thing.
Okay, and I thank you, Libby. I know there has been some discussion in town hall. I know Philip's been working on that. There's been discussion with Grant on code enforcement. I think Jeff, you've probably been involved also. So that is ongoing, I will put it that way. And so how about if I have, or you could reach out to Philip and see what's going on there? And then that way, that's while the discussion will continue at this point in time. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I'd like to talk with you, Libby, offline on some of that. That would be ideal. And then maybe there's some action, especially for code for future cycles. I will say that staff has been enforcing on the right of way. So if you see something, please get it to Grant. There's been a lot of enforcement on that. We have the PD. There's been a lot of discussion on the actual thefts. I think that's the biggest concern to people. So there have been definitely some leads on what's been going on there. And I've been corresponding with the commissioner candidates to also help us with messaging out to their supporters to help try to influence people to make better choices there. But believe us, the law will be enforced for people that are stealing property. So I think those are the 2 main things. And then, yeah, I'd like to talk with you offline, Libby, at your convenience.
Okay, thank you. And thanks to everybody for your time.
Thank you, Libby. Norm, you want to go next?
Yeah, I have a question. Philip, is there any excess COVID money that we could give to the town employees as I know the state's done it, the school district did it, like a COVID bonus or something along those lines?
Unfortunately not. Our funding through the CARES Act only covers expenses that were not budgeted for. So our regular staffing that was included in the 2020 budget, they will not reimburse expenses related to that. We are able to pay for additional staffing. So Earl's mentioned staffing up a little bit for keeping the facilities clean and helping our public works team in that manner. That is reimbursed. But unfortunately, Trustee Nyberg, we can't use our funding for that purpose. But I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious.
Have anything else, Norm?
No.
Okay, thank you. Amy.
Sure. At some point, I'd like to learn more about inclusionary housing. And I don't know if that can be done through the Housing Authority, but I wonder if that's something BV should look at. I don't know much about it. I would like to learn more about it and see if maybe that's something we should do.
Okay, thank you. That's something possibly once the authority gets their feet on the ground, maybe we can look into something like that. Thank you, Amy. Philip, why don't you go ahead?
Sure, thank you. So one of the quick topics that we can bring back at the next meeting and get further direction, but please think about kind of how you would like us to prioritize the remainder of our COVID, our CARES relief funding. We have about $20,000 that's not allocated towards something yet. So we can hold on to that and see if we have expenses, town-related expenses later in the year. We can look at doing some additional grant opportunities, and maybe that's cash, but it also might be supplies. I know the Business Coalition, we met with them this morning to kind of talk about some various ideas on ways to continue to help the business community through the winter time. Everything from tents to street closures to heaters and so on. I think we're kind of steering that back towards letting the businesses make specific decisions that are best for them and not trying to centralize too much of their operation, like supplies, plates, and cups, and so on. That just varies way too much by business. But there might be some opportunities for us to provide additional supplies, such as heaters or things like that for outdoor spaces, especially spaces that might be not for one particular business, but just for like warming areas, things like that. So let's continue that discussion at our next meeting, because we'd like to kind of decide how we want to utilize the remainder of our allocation. The other thing I want to bring up is kind of tied to that as well. We're coming up on the kind of the expiration that we set for our first set of temporary premise expansion premise.
Extended premise.
Extended premise, thank you. It is after 10. And we did have, I think, about six of those. So a lot of them are interested in extending those. And if we did extend those, it would be consistent with how the state is handling to-go alcohol, for instance, and extended premise. For alcohol, I think right now they're through the end of July 2021, but also looking at possibly going as far as October.
Right, for the extended.
For the extended.
To go is through July 31st of 2021, and the extended premise are looking at through October of 2021.
Okay, thank you. So I guess Paula and I would like to kind of make sure the board is supportive of us going ahead and extending. The resolution you all passed earlier this year left it open-ended, but we did set initial expiration dates on each individual permit. So those wrap up, I think, November 11th?
22nd.
22nd, sorry. So we'd like to administratively extend those if everybody is supportive. So thoughts on that?
Could you put that on a, just as a brief agenda item for next meeting?
Sure.
Just a real quick discussion?
Sure, we sure can.
Yep, and then that way everybody can kind of give it a little thought process over the next couple weeks, and we'll look at it the end of the month. And in that way, you'll be ready for extension in November, correct?
Yes. So that would work great on, especially on the extension. So we can tee that up for the next meeting. However, tied to that is we, especially if we want to extend this offering, we need to kind of refresh or remind the businesses that this process is out there, because I know that businesses are looking at putting up tents and other temporary structures to help with the expanding the space. Those do need to be permitted. So they either need to go through this process, which I think is ideal because it's light, it's quick, and it allows us to address things pretty quickly, or we have to revert to our other code sections that would deal with like temporary structures, temporary use types of things. So I think staff would prefer to use what we have in place, but we need to kind of know that we're continuing with that or not.
And that makes sense, because this is a very simple process. And I think the easier we make it, the easier it's going to be on everybody, staff and the public. Amy, go ahead.
No, I'll come into town hall. I can fill out a permit for my tent. Sorry about that.
Not picking on anyone. There's just it's a lot of talk right now.
No, I brought it up to I've talked to a couple businesses about it as well, and I will pass that along. And if there's any size differentials, yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, I will follow up with town and let me know if I could pass anything on to businesses. The extension is probably going to, once it gets cold, I think, I don't know if anyone will use the extension. So I don't know if you wait a couple weeks if it gets cold, if that will change the workload.
I've already heard from 3, they're going to use it.
Yeah, I think some will try to use it just for good weather days. And it also, again, it gives us kind of this process, again, even if it's not on public property, it allows us to get permitted for temporary structures like tents easier than our normal process.
And if we follow the state guidelines, we won't need any resolutions of our own or anything like that. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's right.
Okay, so I think that keeps it pretty simple.
And also, Public Health did put out their recommendations for tenting inside versus outside. I don't know if you guys saw that. I can forward along, but that might be great to give any businesses as well, because you can't put up a tent and close it down and consider it outdoors, but I can forward that to you if you need it.
That'd be great.
Okay, I think, does that sound okay, Philip?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, do you have anything else?
Me.
Okay, let's go on to Sean.
Hey, Mayor. I'm good. Unless there's any concerns with the 25-mile-an-hour recommendation on West Main Street. I didn't know if anybody wanted to continue that discussion, but I think we got it pretty close. Looked at it for a while. Go ahead.
No, I think that's, I think the board supported that initially, and now that you've looked it over, it just sounds really good. It makes sense.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sean. Devin?
Yeah, I'm good.
Right.
Cindy?
Just small couple things. I've had a couple people asking me, complaining about speeds through town. And I know that, was it in the paper that there was something about the police department being short-staffed, and they're working on it, but they have other stuff that takes priority.
Correct. We're down 3 patrol officers right now. That's right.
Right. And so that's out there, that the speeding through town. And on my street, Baylor, the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit sign is missing. And people are going a lot faster than 20 down the Baylor, I know that. But the speed limit sign isn't there anymore either.
We'll look at it. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look at it. Thanks, Cindy.
Do you have anything else, Cindy?
One other thing, and I don't want to harp on it, but I want to stick it out there that in next year's budget, if at all possible, that there is something in there to help with the beautification of the cemetery. That's it.
Okay, thank you. One thing that I'll just interject. Well, wait a minute. Let's go ahead. Earl, I thought you said enough, so I put you at the end, except for Michelle. Michelle's last, but that's okay.
I'm all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. Michelle, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I'm always last. I just want to let you know that if you see more emails come through that are from quote unquote support, that I will be sending out the invites for you to review the other funds as well. So just look at them. Don't delete them or stick them in your spam or whatever. You'll have to have an invite in order to actually access those funds to review.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And Dean, I just noticed you're on there. Do you have anything you'd like to add about anything going on at this point?
Yeah, real briefly, I'd just like to touch on a couple things for the police department. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I referenced the signs. We actually did a press release about that today, and we've taken 6 official reports about that, with a total of 7 signs reported stolen. There were some other reports, but those individuals weren't interested in pursuing charges. I caught a girl the other day who stole a sign, but the homeowner didn't want to press charges. There's 4 cases where unknown suspects have removed signs. I think the sheriff's office has had quite a few more reports, so it's happening all around the county. And our press release strongly discourages that sort of behavior. It's not helpful. It doesn't do anything. And Trustee Fay is correct. It's a theft charge and also trespassing. So outside of the theft of the signs, we need to make sure people are locking their vehicles. We've been working a stolen vehicle ring along with Salida Police and the Sheriff's Office. We had a drug task force operation a couple weeks ago that our officers were involved in down in Salida, and it actually led to the arrest of some of these individuals that have been stealing cars. Salida did a press release last week about it, where they were in a vehicle pursuit. Officer's vehicle was rammed with a car. A suspect threw a gun out the window. So it was a pretty dangerous group. And the BVPD is expecting to make about 3 arrests on that in the coming weeks. So I just want to give a shout out to our officers. It's been a super busy season, super busy time of year. There's a whole lot that our officers do that there's just a lot of people just don't know what they're doing. But at our last team meeting, we did a Chief's commendation for Sergeant Adair for a recent drug bust and a burglary case he solved, and a Chief's commendation for Corporal Mitchell for helping to save a girl's life who'd overdosed And he did really good police work on finding her and getting her some help. Let's see here. We're getting some people hired here. We got a couple guys starting the academy. We did our firearms qualification on the 30th. That went well. We're dedicating our field training manual to Officer Stizek. And there's a misprint on my report there. His the anniversary of when he was killed was 24 years ago this October. And next year would be 25 years. And let's see, I'm meeting the warden with the correctional facility tomorrow. We're just gonna have lunch and just talk about how we can support each other's agencies. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And also for Trustee Swisher, yes, our officers are pretty busy with some big cases, but my directive is when they're not in the office, if they're not doing reports or working on things like that, that we do want them out running traffic. So we're trying to stay on top of that too.
Thanks a lot, Dean. We really appreciate it. And I did forget Jeff. Jeff, do you got anything?
No, I don't. Smooth sailing legally. So thanks for asking.
Are you missing the drive?
You know, I miss the drive up there in the fall. It's gorgeous. I don't really miss the drive home that much, especially this winter. I'm sure I won't miss a lot of that.
You know, we'll try to accommodate you. We'll do our best.
Right.
Okay, so just a couple things from me. Remember the light at Cedar and Belden. Try to give feedback for that. You're also looking at the $20,000 that we have remaining of the COVID funding. Keep that in mind. That does expire, am I correct, Philip, at the end of the year?
Yes, it does.
Yes, okay. Also, we're going to discuss the extension for the restaurants and stuff. We'll make a clear decision on that next meeting. And I think that's pretty much all I've got. Good meeting, a lot going on. Please, if you talk to friends and people, tell them, you know, signs are signs. Let them go. Leave them there. The police have enough to do without chasing people pulling signs. Let's, you know, let's just move on. And in a month, this will all go away and we'll all be happy campers, right? So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait, real quick, sorry, just got to plug that we do have the work session next Monday on the 19th at 6 p.m.
That's
we'll
correct.
send more emails and content about that, but we're going to get the presentation on our facility needs assessment and planning. So
we're having dinner, right?
You can have dinner. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just thought I'd throw that out, you know, just saying.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, thanks. I take that motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Big
Volpe. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a good night. Good meeting. Thanks,
Good night,
Jeff. Take
Mayor.
care.
Good night, guys.
Everybody.